AITA for telling my dad that horse is dead when he asked if we could have a relationship. My mom and dad married young and had 6 ladder-step kids. The longest gap in ages between us is 27 months. My dad found a job that paid well, but he would be home for 2 weeks every 3 months or so. When he was home, he'd show some interest in us, but most times he'd be sleeping or watching TV. One night when he was gone for work and we were with our aunt since my mom had to work, the whole neighborhood broke into our house and completely destroyed and stole everything. When my mom took the cops to our neighbor's house, she pointed out every house that helped and said what they took because she wouldn't be the only one in trouble. After that, we went to our aunt's and my mom called my dad, told him what happened and asked him repeatedly to come home. He chose to stay at work. After that night we didn't see him for about a year and a half. When he did show up, it would be in sporadic intervals from 10 months to 2 years apart and only for a few minutes at a time, but always when my mom wasn't around. When I turned 14, he started coming around more often and started spending an hour or two with us every couple months. He took a special interest in us living with him and would make a point to say it every time he saw us. At 15 I moved in and everything went to downhill fast. He started mentally and verbally attacking my looks and my body. He'd talk about women often and how they should always submit no matter what. He would give me something only to take it back. He gave me an allowance but would be mad if I spent it. He got upset with me for not talking to him enough, but would give one-word responses when I tried to start a conversation. Then there was a situation where I found some pretty damning evidence of his mistreatment of my mom on his computer. I was a busy kid with little to no free time. I was in sports, after-school clubs, student council, theater, and prom homecoming committee. When homecoming came around I asked if I could go. He agreed and was reminded almost every week of when it was. The night of homecoming, when my date arrived to pick me up, he pulls me to the side and said I can't go because I had to help him pack and move out of our house. Completely blindsided because what? We did not discuss moving and why would you wait until homecoming night to say something? We went back and forth for a little bit and I offered to come straight home afterwards instead of spending the night with my friends like I intended. He was annoyed but agreed. The dance was over at 9, I got home at 9:45. I was helping pack along with some cousins he invited over, but I guess I wasn't going fast enough. He started yelling and he ended up laying hands on me. I left immediately and called my aunt who came to get me. He started flooding my phone with texts and calls saying how ungrateful I am, how I cost him so much money, how bad of a person I am, etc. I didn't respond to any of it. After about 2 months, I started reaching out to him about my clothes and belongings, asking if we could talk, etc. He never responded and blocked my number. I went to his house a few months after that, but, when he opened the door and saw it was me, he slammed the door in my face and started cussing at me through the door until I left. It has been almost 12 years since then. On to a few weeks ago, I get a text from a random number calling me by name. Me, who is this? Him, it's your dad. Me, what do you want? Him, I want to see about me being your dad and you being my daughter. A wave of confusion, disbelief and finally rage washed over me all at once. I responded, that horse is dead. He waited a few minutes and replied, it's not dead, just on life support, but with some work, it can get better. I blocked him and called my mom. She said, that's still your dad. You need to let that hurt go and talk to him. Her response is what has me second-guessing the way I handled this situation and has me thinking that maybe I was a little too harsh. Maybe trying to explore a relationship with him is something I should do. However, if this were a random person doing these things, it would be cut and dry to never speak to them again, so why should I give him another chance just because we are related? Why should I do the work on his terms when he wasn't willing to meet me or speak to me on mine? Why do I feel like the bad guy for making a stance for my own mental well-being? Why is it okay for him to mistreat everyone and only when he's ready, is when it will be resolved? Should I listen to my mom instead and just talk to him anyway? AITA, comments, NTA. He wants something. He's not calling for your benefit, only his own. You aren't obligated to let anyone into your life, regardless of relationship, but it's family. Nope. Tell any flying monkeys that they're welcome to have a relationship with them if they choose. You are choosing not to, and they will find themselves on the list as dear old dad if they keep pushing the issue. This is going to be blunt, but both of your parents are very abusive and dysfunctional. Your dad is just straight up an abusive jerk, and he's contacting you because he wants something: money, a maid, a kidney, a babysitter for a new family, who knows. But this is not coming from a place of love, just a place of greed. And your mom, well, she's telling you that abusers who are related to you should be allowed to keep abusing you. That's wrong, and she's a brainwashed enabler. I'm sorry, because she's also an abuse victim, but she's enabling an abuser. Bury the horse and walk away. You will not regret it. Edit. Hello everyone, I wanted to start by thanking everyone who commented. I don't know how to do an edit, so I'm posting answering some questions and addressing some comments I feel need clarification. I will update in a separate post because this might get long, so apologies in advance. I'm long-winded, deal with it. LOL, my mother, for all the people downing on my mother. Just know. Find somewhere else to dump your trauma. My mother is a hard worker and giver and has been all her life. She graduated HS at 16, was a regional manager by 20, and purchased her first house in cash by 22. Needless to say, she was and still is, doing well for herself. She volunteers to feeding programs, clothes shoe giveaways, she donates money to charity, buys strangers food and clothes, babysits kids of struggling parents, or helps them financially, take meals and clothes to senior citizens, even gives what she has right off her back. She has always been a giver and has a big heart for everyone. Even the people talking bad about her, she would still see that your needs are met. Sometimes a little kindness goes a long way. 2. The break-in, some people saying it's fake, I wish it was. We were terrified and I hope that never happens to anyone. Like I said, my mother was well off, but we lived in a not so well off neighborhood. The kids in the house behind us would steal our stuff often. They took our bikes, our balls, our swimming pool, our coats or clothes if we left them outside. Sometimes we'd get home and they'd be running out of our backyard because they were playing on our playset, which they eventually took too. When we would tell her, she'd say, just let them have it. If they had to steal it, they may not have a way to get it themselves. Then she'd go buy us another one, because she's always been forgiving to others. However, because of this, the neighborhood knew we had nice things in our house. The night of the break-in, that was the house she took the cops to. The mother of the kids is the one who told on 5 other houses. Surprise surprise, they were all related. So, it was basically one big family, all living close to each other who did it. When we left to live with our aunt, they broke into our house 3 more times after that, I guess to get what they didn't take the last time. 3. The evidence on the computer, there were emails of him asking his cousins and siblings to lie for him, saying they saw him send my mom more money than he did, or how they witnessed my mom not letting him see us. There were court documents of their divorce proceedings, and a list of things he asked for, including a house my mom helped her sister purchase and the house we were currently living in that she bought with her own money before they were together. Lastly, a bunch of recordings of my dad calling my mom on the phone, without her knowledge or consent, and basically provoking her repeatedly to try to get a reaction. During the calls, he brought us up many times and called her a terrible mother for keeping him away from us, among many other things I won't repeat. She reminded him, he chose to leave us and that wasn't on her. She never kept us from him. He's a grown man and it's not her responsibility to make sure he maintains a relationship with his own children. There was a bunch of back and forth, but I guess she never gave him the reaction he was looking for because they all ended the same. He always got mad and ended up yelling, to which she said, if you can't be an adult and talk, I'm hanging up. While most of these were sort of old, there were a few that were recent at the time, like really recent. The last recording I listened to was 2 weeks after I moved in. He told her that he finally got me to move in with him because I told him I hated her since she's a bad mom. That was the one that broke her. She started crying and basically told him, he can say whatever he wanted to say, but that wouldn't change anything. She would be praying for him to find peace in his soul so he won't have to put others down just to feel powerful. To this he laughed, told her she's being emotional, then said, whatever. Here we go with your fake tears. Are you done? And hung up laughing. I was disgusted and above all, pissed. This whole time he's been telling me how much he missed us, how it's not his fault he doesn't see us more often, and how he's always wanted us. Reality hit me and turns out, it was just lies. I never told him she was a bad parent or that I hated her. He was absolutely using me just to get under her skin. Using his own child like a pawn in his ultimate get-back game to hurt the mother of his kids after essentially trying to make us homeless in court. I realized, that's why he had been adamant about asking every time he saw us to move in, and why he always made it seem like a dream to live with him. He wanted his court case to be stronger so he could legally steal from her. He coerced and manipulated me, and like a dummy, I fell for it, and I started to hate him for it. Towards the end of our relationship, I absolutely became distant, stopped talking to him unless I had to, and barely ate. I was a busy kid because I didn't want to be home. I figured if I drowned myself in sports, after-school programs or volunteer work, it would be less time I'd have to be around him, so that's what I did. 4. The conversation with my mom. Of course, the conversation was a lot longer than the 4 words I shared on my post, and her comment I shared was not the end of the conversation. We talked for about an hour and a half about it. At first, she was listening, asking a question every now and again, and overall letting me vent. She made the comment I shared, and when I voiced the same concerns I voiced on here, she heard me out. She said I should forgive him, not for him, but for me, because she doesn't want me holding on to hate in my heart, and not to have regrets about not pursuing a relationship if he were to pass away. She never pressured me or made me think that was the only option I had. At the end of the conversation, she said it was my decision and she'd support me in whatever choice I made. She is the furthest from a doormat, an enabler, or weak like some of you said. She is the strongest person I know, because who among you can look at someone who did all that, but still forgive them? Comment. It sounds like you've got an awesome mom. She's given you a great example of how to be a good person and how to approach the world with love. It takes time to learn and nobody is perfect at it all the time, but trying definitely counts. It's true, forgiveness isn't for the forgiven, but for the peace it can bring to forgiver. However, sometimes we're just not in a place to be able to forgive yet, and that's okay, too. Don't dwell on it too much, you'll get there in your own time. You also don't have to have a relationship with him, even if when forgiveness happens. That's completely up to you. Update. Hello all. Before the update, I wanted to say thanks for showing love and support. The sheer amount of comments on my post was a bit overwhelming since I wasn't expecting it to blow up the way it did. Thanks to everyone who sent words of affirmation and shared your own stories. That probably wasn't the easiest thing for you to do, and I appreciate your bravery, honesty, and vulnerability. On to the update. A few days after I blocked my dad, my siblings randomly started asking about him and if I had spoken to or wanted to hang out with him. This was weird for several reasons since, 1. We never talk about him at all, and 2. They knew from past conversations I don't want to have a relationship with him. So if they do talk about him, it's never with me. At first I was brushing it off, but after a few times, I started inquiring why they kept asking. They'd either changed the subject or made an excuse like, no reason, or I was just curious. About 3 weeks ago, I was talking to my older brother, and he mentioned having to run an errand. I offered to go with him. He hesitated, changed the subject and tried to leave. I asked what he was going to do since I had stuff to do also. That's when he said to fix a truck. He said he won't be long, so I asked whose truck he was going to go look at and if he needed my help again. That's when he finally said it was our dad's truck. Confused, I asked how long he'd been talking to our dad for him to feel comfortable to go help him fix his truck. Apparently, this isn't new news. My brother has been seeing and helping our dad for years. From that conversation, I found out all of my siblings had been talking to and meeting up with our dad. They'd go to his house, dinners, shopping, shows, etc. Side note, no, I haven't told my siblings about the things I found on his computer, or about the things he said to me while I was living with him. I don't think that will do anything but cause more confusion or strife. If they choose to be around him and he is being a dad to them, then great for them. Anyway, after I blocked him, I guess he asked them to ask me why I wouldn't speak with him. I was kind of upset with them because none of them had the decency to just be honest with me about their intentions and why they kept bringing it up, but I was more upset with our dad because why aren't you respecting my answer? I started to be a bit distant from my siblings because of this, and my oldest sister noticed. She came to me about a week ago and asked if I wanted to join them for a family dinner. I said no thanks, so she left it alone. A few days later, she asked again. My answer hadn't changed, so she said I should just try it. She assured me she'd sit beside me or in between us if my only option was to sit by our dad. She said I didn't have to talk to him if I didn't want to and could just talk to her, but she wanted me to be there too. Maybe because I wanted answers from him. Maybe to get her to leave me alone about it. Maybe just to see what I would feel like being around him after all this time. Maybe it was none of these, or all of them at once. I think I was just over the whole thing, so I agreed to go. And oh boy, did it go. So, 2 nights ago we all met up at a restaurant. When I pulled up, my dad was waiting outside the building. I sat in the car until the rest of my siblings got there and we all walked up together. When our dad saw me, he went to hug me, but I walked past him. He moved to the front of me as we were walking so he could hold the door open for me. I just gave an awkward side eye and walked in the door. When we were seated, I sat at the furthest end of the table away from him, and my sister sat beside me like she said she would. She touched my hand under the table and whispered, "Just breathe," to me. I hadn't realized how tense I was until she said that because I could physically feel my body relax then get really hot after I exhaled. At first, my dad tried to talk to me and ask questions about life, but I only gave one or two word responses or a head nod. Eventually, he started talking to the rest of my siblings. I spent the rest of the time mainly in silence just pushing the food on my plate around. Towards the end of the meal, I excused myself to the restroom but left my bag and phone there. When I got back to the table, everyone was gone, and so was my stuff. I looked out the window and saw them walking towards the cars, so I went to head out to see who had my stuff. When I came to the front doors, my dad was waiting there blocking the doorway with my stuff in his hands. I looked at my stuff and then at him. He went to hug me again, but I took a step back. He started talking about how he wanted us to be a family and how he knows I'm mad at him right now, etc., but honestly, I just started to disassociate. In his whole speech, I never heard an apology. Just how my emotions were keeping me from opening back up to him like old times. After a while, I reached for my stuff again and that's when he grabbed me and hugged me. I wanted to push him off, but I'm barely over 5 foot and he's a lot taller and stronger than I am. He said, "You know I love you, right? Right? Right?" And wouldn't let go of me until I said sure. He kissed my forehead, handed me my stuff and left out the door. At this point, I'm just numb. I cried all the tears I could, I've screamed all the screams, grieved the childhood I'll never have and the future I can't see him in. Grieved all the memories only I have to share with myself. Like being the youngest MVP as a freshman on a team of seniors who went to states and won 3rd place. Like how I broke the school record 3 years in a row, or how whenever I was on stage during a play, I saw everyone's parent but my own. How I walked myself out on senior recognition night and waved to a crowd full of strangers alone. How I never got to go to a daddy-daughter anything, or how I could never call him up to talk about my day or boy trouble. How he won't be the one walking me down the aisle or be a part of my children's life if or when I have them. This night solidified to me the hunger I had for him to show that he actually wanted me was gone. The anticipation of him saying, "Baby, I messed up, how can we fix it together," that never came. At the end of the day, he was still him. A smooth talker who only wants what he wants and nothing more. I've checked out with him, and I don't think I'll be opening up this door again. Sorry, this isn't the rainbows and sunshine ending some of you were expecting, but life doesn't always go to plan. I will continue to work on me and trying my best to be the example my mother set for me to forgive. However, I guess that brings me to the only question that's left unanswered. Can I truly and deeply forgive him and never want to see him again? At this point, I just feel indifference towards him. Comment. Your sister hung you out to dry letting him hold your things hostage to force you to talk to him. All 4 wheels, right under the bus is where she threw you. I'd go NC with all of them. Comment. I can tell OP loves their siblings, so this is hard for them, but this is a huge betrayal. The stuff being held hostage was calculated, and his hug and kiss feels like nothing short of assault. Reading this and all the siblings co-signed it. I agree. It's time for NC, and frankly I'd try and talk to a lawyer about a restraining order on the father. Comment. It is fucking assault. And her family set her up for it. I know you love your mom, and she has a beautiful soul that you may wish to emulate, but not take this shit lying down. They all set you up for that, because it's what they want, and they want it, because it's what he wants. He's still playing that bullshit emotional manipulation game because he's a tragically broken individual. He cannot find joy in life, just distraction from making other people miserable. Wanna fuck with this guy? Be the most carefree, happy, and joyous person in the world. Don't interact with him, or if he forces anything gray rock him, start a side conversation with just one person, walk away. You know I love you, right? You know, I barely think of you at all. Fuck that guy. Share those phone calls. And if nothing changes, protect your peace and go be happy with people who love, value, and respect you and your boundaries. Stories number 2. New update, AITA for refusing to help a friend who didn't invite me to their wedding. For about 11 years now, I've, 37M, been pretty close with, let's call him, John, 38M. We met at a job in my mid-20s and were pretty regular company up until the pandemic, where our hanging out, including a circle of mutual friends, has taken a decline but isn't extinct. John and his partner, let's call her, Jane, 36F, have been together for about 8 years now, engaged for a little under 2 years, both with a child from previous relationships, so they have taken trips with their kids near yearly, and I've been happy to help visit John's, now their, home and check on things, take care of their animals, etc. while they're gone. I've helped them out with other projects tasks over the years and most recently picked up Jane from the airport returning from a work trip and got her home this past winter during a snowstorm because my vehicle could handle it. Generally, I have been present and helpful on top of our base friendship. About 5 weeks ago, I find out from a mutual friend their wedding is coming up, and invites went out a while ago, everyone in our circle but me invited. As a gay guy, I've experienced being iced out of some of my straight friends' lives and events in ways minor and pronounced, but this one has definitely been something that has had me thinking about my time and energy with people. I decided I would take the hint and begin to distance myself. 3 days ago, John texts me asking if I am around in early to mid-August. I say I am. John asks if I wouldn't mind visiting like I have before to look after the animals and property. I said, sorry, I can't. He calls to talk about it. We run through the same conversation, polite but a bit tense, so I finally say, I just won't be visiting your home. After a moment of silence, I bring up that I'm disappointed that I appear to be the only person in our group of friends not invited to his wedding, and that I can't be helping like I have before if I'm just a background friend at this point. I wrap up the call positively and sincerely with me wishing them a good wedding and trip, and that maybe we can grab drinks soon. Jane reaches out 2 days ago sending follow-up texts saying John is upset about what I said and with her because she made the final calls about friend invites, and that I am taking this the wrong way, there is only so much capacity and that the others in our friend group have partners that took up space. She adds that she hopes I'll change my mind and help out them out because it would put John's mind at ease. I'm not entitled to the company of others or invitations to anybody's events, but am I wrong for setting my own boundaries in response to theirs? I try not to frame my friendships as transactional, but they obviously want something out of me here despite their not inviting me and then avoiding even bringing it up with me until they needed help with covering their honeymoon. Verdict, not the asshole. Relevant comments. Commenter, NTA. This sounds like a really one-sided friendship and that they are taking your friendship for granted. Why would you keep putting time and energy into them? Reply, like I said, we've been pretty close up until now, and I've happened to have the availability when they need it often enough where we've been close enough before that I didn't mind or feel taken advantage of. John's helped me as well in the past, and try not to hold other people's lives and familial commitments against them, but I was trying to paint a concise picture, given the character limit, of being, I thought, close. This situation, like I said, definitely changed my perspective given the other friends invited, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't making their wedding about me. They approached me after excluding me. So far people seem to agree, which I'm relieved about. Commenter, NTA. Jane reaches out 2 days ago sending follow-up texts saying John is upset about what I said and with her because she made the final calls about friend invites, and that I am taking this the wrong way, there is only so much capacity and that the others in our friend group have partners that took up space. What a bogus excuse. If your friends need someone to check up on their animals and property when they are on their honeymoon after a wedding you weren't invited to, they can ask another friend or family member. The audacity of some people astounds me. I am a believer in putting the same energy into a friendship as you experience. Reply, I don't pretend to be super savvy about wedding etiquette and I realize every wedding is different and lines have to be drawn about who can come or not, but yeah, my mutual friend reaching out to me to coordinate plans for our friend group during the weekend of the wedding to find out I wasn't invited definitely stung and felt awkward, and my friend was in disbelief as well. Commenter, NTA. Not even a little bit. And then to ask for help like it's no big deal. SMH, what did your friend group have to say about it? Reply, definitely some surprise. The only reason I found out was because one of them, who lives a bit further away, reached out initially trying to coordinate some plans get-togethers around the weekend of the wedding, assuming I'd been invited since me and John were close. I've let him follow up with the others, as I didn't want to interject so close to the wedding and make it about me. Commenter, I think you've got some awkward times coming up, please remember during them that this isn't your fault. Despite what Jane said, you might still not know exactly what happened with you being on the guest list. John may be learning or realizing some big things right now, your friends may be considering some things, and you may be blamed for the results of this situation. Again, please remember that none of that is your fault. By your account, you've been incredibly gracious. By the way, I don't think I saw you mention it anywhere. What was John's reaction when you brought up the lack of wedding invite? Reply, I had to revise the original post and trim a lot of smaller details to get it to the character limit and capture the situation concisely. John didn't say much. There was some silence after I cut through his line of questioning with the fact that I won't visit his home at all. I said my piece about not being able to help if I'm not invited with our other friends, and out of awkwardness pivoted to the gracious wrap-up, hope the wedding and trip are good, let's grab drinks soon. There was a pause and sort of collecting himself, something like, thanks man, yeah, let's do that, before I decided to hang up. Hard to peg down, but I picked up on some regret in his tone. Update. I previously posted about being passed over for invitation to a wedding while being asked to perform a favor for the couple who did not invite me. Yesterday afternoon, a few days after John made the initiating contact that led to this altercation, he reached out by text telling me the following: I want to take you up on that drink tomorrow if possible, and I want to apologize for my royal fuck-ups in person. I agreed to meet. After we kicked off with a round of shots, John's first line was that he failed me as a friend in this situation. With non-family invites, Jane apparently seemed very preoccupied with a philosophy of couples over singles at the wedding, and he had previously voiced that he felt it was exclusionary and silly, but I guess Jane prioritized couples on the first round of friend invites and told John that it will be easier to fit in others after receiving RSVPs. John backed out and says he felt that going along with her initial plan of inviting the rest of our circle, who are, God bless them, coupled up, and not me, and had faith the RSVP thing would materialize. She ended up using the bit of space to plug in some more family. John admitted he basically folded and felt ashamed enough that he could not find a way to tell me. He knew reaching out to me about that favor was a risk but took it anyways because he wanted someone he could trust, and my response was a materialization of everything he feared would happen, and in his words, deservedly so. He told me a wedding should be a gathering of your family and company who have been a part of your lives and who you want to be part of your lives, and I fit that bill to him by any measure. He, trying to accurately paraphrase, said I've done more than most of the people on the guest list for him and his family over their relationship, including help making memories with trip coverages and helping build their back deck with him to share meals and host events over the last 6 years. He got visibly upset when he said, with the shot and the drinks we were sipping on kicking in, that he can't believe Jane even considered holding my single dating status against me after I got her home safely during a snowstorm earlier this year, and that he did not more adamantly confront that bullshit reasoning the instant she voiced it. He is even more pissed for Jane reaching out to me in the manner she did after my original phone call with him. John acknowledged it would come off as hollow at this point, but after a few exchanges with Jane said there would be no more nonsense and I would at least get a proper invite and +1 if I wanted, and they would make it work if it was even desired by me at this point. He said he is not going to try to do panic damage control but will be upfront with our circle. One has already dropped the wedding and I guess another couple has said something else, by his reporting, like he was with me for his faults, because he and Jane deserve the blowback and he needs to earn trust back, if it's at all possible. He has also made it Jane's problem to find a friend who can come out 9 days in a row to care for the home and pets. With a smirk, he said she's having a hard time securing it, and may likely have to hire help. I told John the first really appreciated his owning up to this, and it was good to see the friend I had shine through here. I told him that I have always appreciated him and Jane's friendship, so it hurt when I was excluded and not even addressed. I felt that close enough anyways, and I obviously don't mean to complicate his wedding. I've always thought him and Jane were great for each other. Earnestly, I have supported them as best as I can, and I've been confused about what I have done or haven't done to be iced out. I also admitted it's hard to trust Jane again if she has been weighing the validity of my presence based on my relationship status, and added, with some humor, it's not like I haven't been trying and you guys haven't met some of my previous long-term partners. He said he doesn't get it either, and she has at least one good friend who is single that she may have burned a bridge with as well over the wedding philosophy she had. I said the friendship is going to be changed and informed by this, at least very different for a while, and I know that you and Jane had a disagreement leading to this but that I hope that the wedding goes on to be a good celebration. I informed him it feels best to take a pass on the invitation, but he said if there was a change of mind, up to the last minute, to let him know, which was kind and he wasn't desperate pushy about it. John said the fault is his for not stepping up on my behalf, that he is sorry, and while he feels, I wouldn't expect otherwise, and I agree, he is very lucky to have her in his life and thinks their marriage is a positive development for them. He even told her this whole situation will have him questioning and second-guessing her judgment on social matters with his friends for the foreseeable future. By his reporting, but a credit to their relationship, this was quite a blow to her to hear from him but one she accepted and apologized for after their arguments about the subject. Before we parted ways in the parking lot, we gave each other a bro hug, and John's voice broke a bit when he said he is sorry one last time, and I think mine did too when I forgave him. It was legitimately surprising and therapeutic to have John be so frank and accountable, but not unlike the friend I've known for most of my adult life. It was bittersweet, being all things considered a makeup but also a breakup of sorts to what was previously an unquestioned and assumed strong trust and camaraderie. Maybe we can get there again. It seems possible, and it'd be nice. I'm sitting here after weeks of big feelings stewing on a different shade of big boy feelings now. Thanks for processing with me, Reddit. Additional information from OOP. A lot of people had good things on the range of the spectrum to share with me, and I've done my best to respond to people without getting too consumed in doing other things that need to be done. I was happy for John to talk with me. Maybe commenters are right and they see me as something else than I thought we were as friends. And maybe I've got some work to do to assert myself, and that I have been a doormat up to this point. I know I've got some soul searching to do about me as a person and how I see myself with John and Jane, and maybe my other friendships as well. This relationship felt a lot closer and authentic in a different time, but it's hard to paint a fuller picture of that after a situation like this. Things change. As tempting as it is to accept the invitation and be there for John, I think I trust my instinct to let this be, and if John meant what he said, and if Jane comes around, they'll make the effort to follow up. I will be putting some distance for a while, and time will tell. I'm glad we got a chance to talk, because if it is the end, I feel good about giving him a chance to own it, and as I've gotten older I appreciate the hard work of taking on uncomfortable stuff. I made some plans for that weekend with a couple other friends which I'm looking forward to. I find repeated updates on an initial post a bit messy and tacky, so if anyone wants my thoughts on particulars just click my profile and look at my comments responses. Thanks for words and insights, Reddit. Relevant comments. Commenter, OP, how could a woman so terribly irrational and selfish be good for John? I mean I couldn't have listened to her logic about the guest list for 5 minutes and John sucking it up like it's nectar of the gods. Reply, I haven't seen this side of her before, and I believe John is a bit shocked by it. I can't know for certain if this is really her personality outside of my view though. I said in another response, but I believe that there are many parts of one's life that anyone, a friend or partner, can be of great benefit to you, and then test your understanding with a wrong call. Those wrong calls are varied in severity and scope, and I don't pretend to be a sage relationship expert, but she helped him tremendously in the past 8 years. I've witnessed her kindness and the strength of the family they've forged and how much effort she's put into it. I am very surprised and hurt by the left turn she has taken in her wedding planning. I am giving her the benefit of time to come to her own steady senses to respond as she wishes, but I, with a comet-sized grain of salt, take John's word that his admonishment of her judgment and actions, even if it was very late, meant something to her. I hope she'll find the courage, maybe after this Bridezilla episode, to acknowledge it. Sooner would be better than later. I am practicing some distance for a good while and want to give them space to prove this friendship wasn't a waste of time on my end, and I think a lot of Redditors are perfectly right to be angry, I still am, with her and warn me against rolling over for them. I'm doing a lot of reflection and hoping I'm not being taken for a fool in all this. 11 years and a lot of good times and steady support in my own bumpy journey through adulthood. I hope some readers believe me when I have seen these two as a positive for each other. I've experienced them as a positive for me, even if this has caught me off guard and shown a side that is deeply short-sighted and hurtful. I could be wrong in all of this, but time will tell. New updates. Hey everyone. While this was obviously more pressing in the time frame I posted, it's been a while since the wedding and I've been naturally busy with other things going on in my own life. Not much to share or update about, so I didn't. While I was hurt about the precipitating combo of requested favor but hidden exclusion, but happy that John at least met with me, I didn't expect any quick, easy fixes, and have resolved to let it be and wait for Jane to reach out, and that it was even more likely that this friendship was basically over. John reached out a couple of days ago with a text asking if I would be interested in attending a Friendsgiving party they plan on throwing later this month, insisting that both he and Jane would love to have me, and despite some nervousness revisiting it all out of the blue, I said, sure thing. Editor's note, OOP provided a small update after receiving a comment request regarding Friendsgiving. Did OOP attend the Friendsgiving? Update, in comments. Hey, I didn't end up going. I said yes at first, but a few months removed from the incident, and despite my innate desire to somehow make it work, any time I thought about the situation I was left feeling upset. As I got closer to the Friendsgiving, it became clear to me that showing up at a holiday gathering like that was going to be awkward and performative in nature, even if their intentions with the invite were good or coming from the right place, so I avoided it. It felt like the right call. I let John know I had something else come up and he voiced some obligatory disappointment but wished me happy holidays. I haven't received any communication from them since, and I haven't initiated any. It's likely that this may officially be over, but a few busy months in my work and personal life, and some reading thinking on other matters has cooled me off and given me some slight perspective changes from where I was at. Comments. Commenter 1, honestly it's a good thing you didn't go but the dishonesty was not chanced or they invited you for them not for you. I say you should contact John again and just tell him that you are done. He was not a good friend and it just comes off as if the U-turns were just to make themselves feel better. The biggest giveaway is the obligatory disappointment, meaning it sounded like he wasn't really bothered that you didn't go, not to mention absolutely zero communication from Jane since she called you demanding you take care of their pets after lying to you by omission. I hope you're able to get over this L. You don't need friends like that because from your posts he owned up but it looks like he never really apologized. Tell him you're done with him and get some closure. Commenter 2, it was probably for the best that you didn't go, but that gut punch still stings when you realize that you cared more about others than they cared about you. Hope the new year has been good to you. Commenter 3, I'm happy you were able to revisit this. It struck me as speaking volumes that John passed the majority of the blame on to his wife, when he was the one who asked you to host it knowing you weren't invited to his wedding. And he hasn't done anything to show you he values your friendship beyond you being a dependable person for house sitting and emergencies. You clearly deserve better and your other friends all agree. Stories number 3. AITA for wanting simple divorce because I am not ready to take my husband's orphan siblings. I am 24F and my husband 24, both met at our university, when we both were 18. Got married at age of 21. I run a bridal store and he runs a hardware shop. My husband has 2 siblings who are 12 and 10, as his parents struggled fertility issues for a decade and then had 2 children later. His parents died 2 months back in accident. And left a house but not much money, due to bad investments. My husband took his siblings in and I respect him for that. But it isn't something that I signed up for at such young age. Our whole budget has gone to toss and he will be responsible for their education and other things in future. Yes, we both earn well. But still expensive foreign trips, my high-end lifestyle and other things need money. Our own plan was to have 5 years of marriage and plan child around age of 27. I realized it won't be something I want at this point with too much household work and 2 kids to care for. I asked for divorce. And has moved out. There are not much assets as we were saving for a house. And I will grant him an easy divorce. I love him, but I am selfish and at 24. I don't want to do all this. I want to travel and live my life. It hurts, but this isn't something I want. I have moved out and he is asking me to solve this. I can't ask him to give away his siblings to other relatives or social care. I am not that horrible person. But I also don't want to be responsible for them. My parents and siblings are saying that hardships are part of life and I should give my marriage a chance. I don't know. I know I will be very resentful if I force myself into this. Edit. Need to add. People are talking about my vows with him. My vows and commitment was or is with him. If he was in some accident and had lost his limbs, I would have taken care of him. Because I committed to him. So please stop trying to put the equivalence with me not taking responsibility for his siblings. I wasn't committed to his family. I was committed to him only. I am 24. Not ready to roleplay a mother role at this age. Edit. I am depressed with all AITAs but it's okay. That's your opinion. I belong to third world country. I am expected to take care of children. Men barely contribute in child raising. Indeed, I am not mature enough to raise pre-teens at this age. AITA. Comments. Commenter. Bottom line is that this is your life and your choice to make. Whether or not you're an AH for making it doesn't matter. You will need to live with your decision whichever way you go and whatever anyone else thinks of your decision. Commenter. It is none of their fault. It is just life. She didn't sign up for this and neither did he. The kids are innocent and so are the adults. It is actually brave for Op to move out now than leave them later. Someone pretend they are okay and stay. Commenter. Yup, and I don't judge her for wanting to remove herself from this situation. There are many questions here and while we are hearing it from one side, we can only take her word the facts of the case. 24 is rather young to have to take on teenage children. They can be difficult to deal with. One has to be quite compassionate to take on the care and well-being of others. I feel bad for the husband as he now has to care for his siblings but he also can't expect his wife to do the same. He did the right thing though. Commenter. Nah. You're being honest about what you want, and forcing yourself into a life you don't want would only lead to resentment. Your husband didn't choose this situation either, but he's stepping up for his siblings because they need him. It's heartbreaking, but it's better to leave now than stay and make everyone miserable. That said, your timing might feel incredibly cold to your husband. He just lost his parents and now his wife is leaving too. While you have every right to prioritize your happiness, don't expect him to see you as anything but selfish in this moment. It's okay to admit this isn't the life you want, but be prepared for people to judge you for it. Reply, but I didn't know how long I could have delayed the inevitable. Delaying it made no sense to me. Because it's better not to give fake hope for a year and pull the plug later on. Update. I had to delete my original ID because I got depressed by the comments. But later I realized I am not going to lie to myself and can't please everyone. Also I will make some points clear in comments. I didn't factor cultural differences between West and Asian expectations in marriage. I was called gold digger. I make my own money and way more than him. No, I have nothing to dig here. Bridal stores are multi-billion business in my country. I make good money. Also I don't know how tough it is to open business in USA and West, but I started my store during last year of college as attendance wasn't mandatory. Easy to get bank loan and my father gave his empty shop to open it. My husband got lease from his own relative. Promoted our businesses though Insta ads. And it worked out. Third world countries also have upper middle class people you know, who can afford foreign vacations. So please clear your facts. 2. People called me names and that's their perspective. I agree. But I would rather true to myself. I am 24 and I am not ready for such hard task at this age, raising pre-teens, paying for their schools, college, etc. And I would have to delay my own motherhood, which I want in 3 to 5 years, when I am mentally prepared. People wished me to be infertile. I hope you grow up. Having a kid, when I am mentally prepared, is different from raising pre-teens. Yeah, I failed at my vows, I guess. But staying in resentful marriage gonna harm us more in long run. Note when I start motherhood. Still, I would be doing most child caring because of cultural expectations from women. So I don't want to lose my years raising kids all the time. And I want to be in position mentally to be mother. Which isn't now. 3. People said I am selfish for not raising kids. Here, know the fact that my husband would barely help in any household task. He already does it rarely. And I am not ready to be servant for next decade. This is not what I want for myself. I know men in your countries do 50-50 chores and that is good thing. I wish I could say same. But I will be responsible for their care, while he will only contribute financially. Anyways, I and my ex met for final discussion. He asked me to come back and take on motherly duties for his siblings. I refused. I said I understand, he can't go back and leave his siblings in others' care. I won't make divorce process tough for him. We started crying. He said he can't handle all housework in his shop, though we have house help. He feels overwhelmed and he said I can do this better. I said no, and I am not gonna do that. He got angry and said then it is best we divorce and he can remarry to some poor and less educated woman, who can help his household, than someone educated who can't even help. And called me some colorful names, Randy, equivalent of whore. It pinched, but I didn't argue and we are starting divorce proceedings soon. I know it is tough for him. But I don't want to be bitter mother figure. We have some savings which we will split. That's it. The whole process is mentally draining and I am gonna take some break from dating again and find myself. I got married too young because of puppy love during college days. I wasn't ready for all this and I want to be mentally mature enough next time I marry. Yes, I want kids and I will take care of motherly duties, when the time comes. But at this point in life, that isn't going to happen. I want to enjoy fruit of my labor for some years before I give up my life for my children. The sacrifices it requires, I am not up for it. This is final update and I will delete this ID because I know I am gonna get abused here. That's okay, but I am not ready to be sacrificed at altar. Comments. Commenter, yep. That comment from him about marrying a less educated woman. You escaped the life he planned for you. That was going to happen whenever kids came along. I would suggest finding someone less traditional before you remarry. Marriage and children shouldn't be a death sentence to your life. And prenuptial agreements are good ideas. Reply, we don't have prenups here. Commenter, I think you're smart for getting out early. You know exactly what's coming. So I think it's great that you're prioritizing your life, future children, and happiness. It may have gone differently if you knew their care wouldn't be solely be your responsibility. It's crazy he reinforced that while simultaneously begging you back. Stories number 4. AITA for telling my husband he needs to book a hotel for us while we attend my SIL's wedding rather than share accommodations with his family. My husband and I are going to be traveling soon to attend his sister's wedding along with our 1-year-old son. The plan was that we would land at his parents' place and attend one of the wedding ceremonies there. A few days after that, there's another wedding reception in my SIL's soon-to-be husband's city. My in-laws plan to book a few train compartments for the entire family, and an Airbnb for the stay there, 2 to 3 days. I really don't want to be in a confined space with my in-laws for that long, especially with my son. My in-laws and I used to be cordial with each other until my son was born. A few weeks after delivery, my MIL and SIL visited us to help. All they did was just find any opportunity to hold him, regardless of whether he was asleep or in my arms, criticizing me for being too clingy with him when I would put my foot down, and basically started locking myself in my room with him, lament how poor my cooking was and how sorry they felt for their poor son brother who had to endure it, until both my husband and I had had enough, and my husband hinted heavily that they had overstayed their welcome. Since then, I get hounded for not sending enough pictures and videos of him, and how I dress him. I'm so grateful we're far enough away that we see them rarely. I told my husband a couple of days ago that I'd rather we just fly from his parents' place to the other city and just stay at a hotel while we attend the second ceremony. My husband said that would make us look snobbish, that he himself wasn't over the moon about the whole itinerary, but it was a family event and we should be with family. The fact that he wasn't into it frustrated me even more because like we're all making ourselves uncomfortable for what then? We got into an argument, his mother and sister's stay got rehashed and I told him he was choosing to make me uncomfortable rather than potentially risk his family being affronted. AITA. Relevant comments. Comment 1. NTA. While it is a family event, being locked in with family for the train ride and then in an Airbnb will be very uncomfortable for everyone since you have a 1-year-old. They need routine and peace and quiet to rest, and your family will want to pass him around and he will end up possibly sick. It's fine to have him visit with family for a reasonable amount of time, but he needs time to nap and play without the overstimulation. Use him as your reason for the alternate trip plans and advise the family that you would feel horrible if his crying ruined everyone's fun time. You can even let them know he is teething starting his terrible twos early possessed by a demon so there is no pushback. If your husband really wants to stay with the family, let him know he will be in charge of the cranky 1-year-old and you will be in another car getting a nap in yourself. Comment 2. How long is the train ride? Would going on the train but staying at a different location hotel be a compromise that would work for both of you? Op. The train ride is 22 hours. A flight would be 1 hour 45 minutes. Just thinking about that 22-hour train ride is stressing me out. Comment 3. NTA. Let your husband spend time with his family. Make the flight and hotel arrangements for yourself and your son. Let him deal with the fallout. They already treat you poorly, who cares if they think you're a snob? You are never going to be good enough for their son brother. Why bother trying to keep the peace as so many people love to make others do? They didn't care about offending you by sh*t talking whilst you recovered from birth. Which WTF, they would not have eaten if it was me because I would not have cooked for them. Both now and before your husband failed you, do what you want and let him do as he sees fit. Maybe don't bother going at all. Your SIL doesn't seem to like you, why bother supporting her? Op. Thank you so much. I'm really glad to read the comments here. His comment about it coming across as snobbish had given me a bit of a pause, but honestly the train trip and the 3 days at the Airbnb have been on my mind this entire time. I'm going to take the flight there even if my husband wants to take the train. I really want the 3 of us to stay at the hotel together though. I'm going to insist that we stay at a hotel again. Update 1, March 23, 2025. After reading the comments in my original post, I had decided that taking the flight with my son rather than the train was non-negotiable. And I hope to convince my husband for the 3 of us to stay at a hotel. I brought up the topic with him again, and said that a 22-hour train ride wasn't fair to our son. He's been doing really well recently with his sleep cycle, and messing that up for my in-laws' sake wasn't right, regardless of what they ended up thinking. I was firm about it. He finally agreed. I thought it meant my son and I would be taking the flight and my husband the train, but he said he'd be taking the flight with us. He said the long train ride would be horrible for him without us, and that his family would bring up me taking the plane and he didn't want to be around for that. I was really happy and decided to bring up hotel accommodations, and he agreed to that too, saying that his family were already going to be mad at us for taking the flight, so at this point, we might as well make ourselves comfortable. When he told his parents about this, they did not take it well. My MIL complained about how everyone was looking forward to playing with and entertaining our son, that it was a family event and it wouldn't be fun without us. She even suggested to him that I could take the plane and my husband and son take the train, but my husband shut that down, said that our son doesn't react well to having his normal routine disrupted and we'd see them there. So that's that. This has been such a weight off my shoulders. Since we're taking the flight, we'll be there a day before everyone else and can tour the city by ourselves. I also hope we can avoid having to go to the Airbnb for everything. Like they're going to expect us to have breakfast, lunch, dinner with them, but I'll rather we do our own thing for the meals, at least breakfast. But still, this has been such a relief. Thank you to all those who gave me advice in the original post. Relevant comments. Comment 1. NTA and wow. MIL wants a 1-year-old on a 22-hour train ride for her own entertainment. Tell her to rent a baby or get a dog. Insanity. No one in their right mind would be okay with 22 hours on a train with a baby unless it was absolutely unavoidable, like if you were fleeing the country. Comment 2. NTA, make it crystal clear to MIL that access to your son involves being polite and respectful towards his mother. Otherwise she is looking at years of very limited contact. She needs to understand that her current methods are backfiring on her badly. Op. We already have limited contact by virtue of where we live, thankfully. We'd made it known that she'd overstepped lines when we politely but firmly suggested it was time for her to go back when she'd stayed over, but that hasn't stopped her from being overbearing regarding pictures and what he wears and what he eats though. So I don't even know if it's worth the trouble anymore. Comment 3. I may have missed it in your post, but is your baby the first grandchild? Op. Yeah, he's the first grandchild on both sides of the family. Update 2, April 6, 2025. A while ago I had posted about whether it would be okay if my husband and I abandoned his family's plan of a 22-hour train ride and a shared Airbnb, and the comments had given me the confidence to convince my husband to make our own plans. We came back from the trip last night and are back at our house now. After attending the first event in my IL city, we had booked our flight for the second event for the same day as my ILs had booked their train so that we wouldn't have to mind their house. We reached there a day before them and spent that day the three of us touring the city. My in-laws arrived a couple of hours later than scheduled but said the trip was immense fun. However, my husband spoke to a cousin who he's close with and who was on the train and spilled some tea. He said it was all fun for the first 8 hours. Then old fights regarding inheritance and who'd been wronged by who 30 years ago got rehashed, which spoiled the mood. He also said my husband and I came up, and the consensus was that my husband should be less submissive to me and put his foot down more often like a man, and not be so wasteful when it comes to money for me and our son. We only met them for lunch and had breakfast at the hotel, despite their insistence because we wanted to relax and sleep in. According to that cousin, some of those fights had continued overnight at the Airbnb. The second wedding event went well. My husband and I had to put our foot down though because my MIL would ask for my son and then hand him over to some random relative and be confused when he would start crying. Neither of our families live in our city, so we don't have a ton of relatives visiting us regularly, thankfully, just our friends, so he's just not used to so many people, which we were told is bad parenting. After this happened a couple of times we took turns with him and stopped letting other relatives take him. Their return ride on the train was yesterday afternoon, our flight was in the evening. They're still in the train on their way back. I sincerely wanted to thank everyone who backed me up in my first post. I don't know how I would have handled it. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Honestly, this sounds like a win for your nuclear family and a lesson in healthy boundaries. Not every family event needs to come at the cost of your peace or your child's comfort. Props to your husband for backing you up. Comment 2. Sounds like it was a win for you guys and your husband learned to stand up to his family and put his immediate family first. Also, everyone needs a cousin who spilled the tea. LOL grinning squinting face. Op. LOL yeah, I have my fair share of tea spilling cousins too. Comment 3. Your husband is a real man. Hope your marriage continue in bliss. Op. Thank you so much. Stories number 5. I'm about to ruin my best friend's life, and I don't feel remorse. My soon-to-be ex-best friend and I have been friends since middle school. We know everything about each other, our families are basically one big family now. You get the idea. Like I said, we tell each other everything. Recently, she came to me telling me she's been having an affair for about 4 months with her superior at her new job. She started about a year ago. She told me, not out of guilt, but to brag about the dream vacation she's going on with her AP, disguised as a work trip. She asked me to cover for her if her husband asks if we've been in contact, because she's planning on going black for that week so he would have no way of finding out. Side note, we've both known her husband since high school. They are high school lovers, so they've been together for almost 15 years. Her husband is one of the most honest, hard-working, genuine people I know. He of course took everything she said about working late and the business trip at face value because he trusts her more than he trusts himself. I told her I would not be covering for her and to get out of my house, because I couldn't even look at her right now. Later, I told my husband everything that happened, and he was just as shocked and disgusted. Her husband is basically his best friend now, so he of course has a lot of loyalty to him as well. My husband pointed out something I didn't even think of, our security camera. It caught everything. We plan on going to her husband tonight with the proof. It will be up to him to do what he wishes with it. But he deserves to know. Secondly, we're taking this to her job. As far as I know, fraternization of any kind is prohibited at her workplace. She was also promoted once by this same supervisor, so this could be seen as favoritism. Our guess is that they will both be fired. Finally, I'm going to send a snippet of her admitting the affair to all of her family, including mine. As I said, our families are very intertwined, so I will easily be able to contact the majority of her family. I'm not going to give her a chance to spin this against me or her husband. Some may think this is harsh, but I wholeheartedly disagree with that she's doing. ETA, I decided to take the advice of some of the commenters and leave it up to her STBX to decide to go nuclear or not. As some of you pointed out, he may decide to stay with her, and going nuclear would ruin his life in turn. The other reason is going nuclear and making her lose her job could affect the outcome of the divorce. We still plan to tell him, but we have decided against the other two options for now. I'm going to let STBX know if she tries to pin this on either of us or tells anyone a single lie. I will do a 180 and go nuclear. I will not be seen as a villain for a situation I didn't even ask to be in the first place. SHE was the one who thought it would be smart to tell her monogamous friend with traditional values that she's cheating on her spouse. She can lie in her bed. Small update, everyone involved, Alyssa equals best friend, Noah equals BFFS hub. I decided to take the advice of a few people and reach out to Alyssa before I went to her husband. I recorded the conversation, and let her know I was for my safety. She seemed still extremely nonchalant about the whole thing. I told her I was worried for her, and even for her, this was very out of character behavior. Long story short, she's felt very weak and unbalanced in her and Noah's marriage. For context, Noah went to a trade school and makes very good money, while up until her promotion, Alyssa was making slightly more than minimum wage. She has recently been reading up on some anti-traditional values, and the women in those forums attacked her for making less than her husband. She then explained that she noticed her supervisor was trying to flirt with her, and her internet friends told her to run with it, and use him to get higher up. She of course did, but admitted she'd become emotionally attached to him as well. All in all, she admitted she doesn't really regret the affair, because it helped with her career and she found love. I told her she had the option to tell Noah the truth before me, but hubby and I were coming over tonight with the video of her admitting the affair, so she wouldn't be able to sway it in her favor. Again, she very nonchalantly said okay and hung up on me. What the heck is going on? I can't tell if she's having some sort of psychosis, or she's literally just so detached from her marriage, that she doesn't care what happens. Hubby and I still plan on going to Noah tonight, but I'm honestly intrigued to see that she says to him, if she says anything at all. Relevant comments. OOP on having the legal rights and consent to send the video evidence to Alyssa's workplace. OOP, I'm pretty sure we'll be fine legally, if we do ever end up sharing it, we've decided against it for now. She knew we had cameras in our house, we have a very obvious Ring doorbell as well as outdoor cameras. The indoor ones are obvious as well. Plus, where we live, you have the right to record on your property without consent. So there would be no ability to retaliate against us. This is the whole reason I got so upset. She's a new hire, with basically no experience in the field, and she got a promotion for the stereotypical, banging the boss. She's always been the person to look for loopholes or easier ways to do stuff, but this is a new low. I hope at the very least, the supervisor gets fired. Someone like that shouldn't be in a position of power, because they obviously can't handle it. I've thought about maybe making an anonymous tip to the company about him specifically, but I don't want it to lead back to my ex-friend, for now. OOP on telling Alyssa's husband about the video evidence and then going nuclear. OOP, the only reason I'm against it for now is because of some insightful comments. He's a very good man, and he might forgive her and decide to reconcile. Even though I don't agree with it, it's his decision, and I don't want to in turn ruin his life by letting everyone know he stayed with a cheater. Someone also said affecting her job could affect the outcome of a possible divorce, and I wouldn't want anything to play against him. I completely agree, and hubby and I decided against going nuclear, because at the end of the day, STBX will be the only one who gets hurt. It will be solely his decision, unless she tries to spread rumors or lies about me, my husband, or STBX. I plan to tell him if she decides to try and spin this, I will send a clip of the video to anyone she tells, and let it spread from there. Commenter, agree. Also OP, please be prepared for her husband to stay with his wife and cut you and your husband off. Marriages are complicated, and sometimes things don't play out the way you imagine they will. You should tell him, 100%, but what he does with that information is up to him. And please remember that this is not just blowing up your ex-friend's life, it's blowing up her husband's life too. It's his call whether he wants to go nuclear or not. OOP, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he decided to stay with her. He's a very forgiving man and may be willing to give it a shot. As tough as it will be, we do see ourselves going NC with both of them unless a divorce were to take place. Because as much as we'd love to continue being friends and support husband, if ex-friend is part of the deal, we can't support that. Update. Apologize for not having time last night, we were obviously busy. People involved, ex-bestie equals Alyssa, bestie's hub equals Noah. I took a lot of people's advice, and decided not to go nuclear. As many people said, at the end of the day, it's not my circus. The decision should be left up to the wronged party, and that is Noah. I also decided to reach out to Alyssa before telling Noah, and decided to give her a chance to confess to Noah herself. After I talked to her, I was legit thinking about reaching out to her parents about medical help, because she was so unbothered and so non-remorseful about the affair, that I thought she was having some sort of mental break or psychosis. Yeah, Alyssa's always been the kind to find loopholes or ways ahead, but cheating on your spouse of almost 2 decades for financial gain? It's not normal. If you didn't see my small update, the whole reason Alyssa started the affair was to get the promotion at work. It evolved into an emotional affair eventually though. She admitted that her new friends from some feminism forums and Facebook groups told her she wasn't as valuable if she was making significantly less than her spouse, something I learned she's been more insecure about than she's been telling people. They also told her that using a man isn't cheating as long as there's no emotional attachment, she's just being a girl boss. She admitted she couldn't separate her feelings from the intimate aspect, and started going on regular dates and vacations, and eventually they started calling each other boyfriend and girlfriend. The AP knows she's married, but was told they were on the verge of separation. My hubby and I arrived at Noah and Alyssa's with some booze and some dinner, and by the time we were there, Noah had already gone through a bottle of wine. Surprisingly, Alyssa did confess to Noah about the affair. He told us it was extremely non-apologetic, though. She sat him down, and told him that she wasn't going on a business trip this week, she was going on a vacation with her boyfriend. Noah, being the clueless and loyal person he is, thought he meant to say, husband, and was so excited. He asked if they're going to Italy like that planned for, and Alyssa just stared at him. She repeated, with my boyfriend. It took a few minutes, but it finally sunk in. He told us it wasn't pretty after that, and said he embarrassingly got on his knees and begged her to fix everything. She yelled for a bit but then just stonewalled him again. She was already packed to leave, and just left him there sobbing. She turned off her location, which both Noah and I were a part of her family on the app, and we have no idea where she went. We assumed she went to her AP's house, because if she had gone home with 2 suitcases, her mother would have reached out to Noah immediately, she sees him as a son. We sat down with Noah, and said we had video and audio proof of Alyssa exposing and explaining the affair, and we will send them to him in case he needs them. I explained to him, that in a moment of blind rage, I was planning on going scorched earth and telling everyone, but once I calmed down and looked at this rationally, I realized that wasn't the right thing to do. The only person going full nuclear would hurt was him, because Alyssa obviously doesn't care anymore. As I suspected, the idea of reconciliation is still on his mind, but he doesn't see it happening. In order to reconcile, both parties must admit fault and want to reconcile, Alyssa clearly doesn't. We've gotten him in contact with a friend of my hubby, who agrees to help him pro bono until the divorce shows results. I can tell he's still hesitant about going forward with divorce, but he knows he also can't force Alyssa to stay. As comments have suggested, this is where we bow out. We're obviously going to continue to support Noah, but it's not our situation to handle. It's his. If there's any future updates, I'll OFC ask Noah first, but you'll be the second to know. Thanks for being so supportive and helpful, it made me realize that how Noah handles his life and his marriage is his responsibility, not mine. ETA, wanted to clear up some questions from the last post that I didn't really answer in the update. What did Alyssa ever do to you that made you want to go so nuclear? Honestly, nothing in particular. Like I said, for the past few years our friendship has been for convenience at its best. We've basically been friends because we know each other so well, and we have at least one friend. Alyssa has always had qualities I don't agree with, but who doesn't? I think it was just the whole situation that made my blood boil, especially since Alyssa has always been disgusted by cheaters. She was the kind of person to cut dozens of people out of her life if it meant not supporting someone's infidelity. So for her to make a complete 180 and not even have guilt for it, it just grinds my gears. That's part of the reason I think she's having some sort of mental breakdown. Not only is it hypocritical, it's extremely out of character, even for her. Are you in love with Noah? Of course not. Singing someone's praises and trying to portray that they're a genuine and good person doesn't automatically mean you want to sleep with them. Our relationship has been nothing more than platonic for the entire time I've known him, because he loved Alyssa, and I loved their happiness. I love my husband and literally only ever saw Noah like a brother. Logic, people, relevant comments. Commenter 1, I hope he, the husband, has some self-respect and dignity and goes through with the divorce. If he decides to inform their employer, tell him to do it after the divorce. OOP, as much as I love the guy, he basically worships the ground Alyssa walks on. If she came through the door right now, and said, sorry, even with no remorse behind it, I'm 99% sure he'd pretend like the last 4 months were a fever dream. Commenter 2, you handled this incredibly well, and even though it's a painful situation for all involved, your thoughtful approach will likely help Noah through this difficult time. If there are future updates, I'm sure everyone following the story will be eager to hear how things unfold. Wishing the best for Noah, and for you and your husband as you continue to support him. OOP, thank you. Like I said, I made this post and the decision to go nuclear in a fit on blind rage, but I soon realized I was being irrational. It's not my place to serve Alyssa vigilante justice. In all honesty, if she's not careful, she may out herself at work. And it's their decision what to do with the two of them. OOP on notifying Alyssa's workplace. OOP, I'm not going to. If Noah decides to reconcile, she'll be out of a job, which just adds to the problem that caused the affair in the first place. If she gets fired during the divorce, it could be grounds for alimony she doesn't deserve. OOP on what forum Alyssa got the advice from. OOP, it wasn't a national or creditable group, it was called like Independent Women of Insert State, and it's a bunch of women who give advice and other stuff tailored to laws and jobs in our state. The advice she got was from a group of women she met in that group who had their own personal group chat. She called them her friends, but I guarantee none of them are going to help her pick up her life now that it's ruined, rolling on the floor laughing. Update number 2, October 5th, 2024, 8 days later. Well, I didn't expect to be back so soon, but the last week has been basically a speed run of terrible events. This will probably be my last update, so feel free to consider this the conclusion of the events. Everything bad that could have happened, happened. The past 2 days specifically have been absolutely horrible. Sorry if this is all over the place, I'm still all over the place. So, if it was the day she left, or the day after, but Alyssa and AP went on their vacation. The only reason I know of because she posted pictures all over social media of her and AP, she had absolutely no shame. It was very clear that even if she wasn't divorced, this was her new boyfriend. Which of course notified her family of the issues. Noah's phone was blowing up with apologies, accusations, everything you could think of. Noah, being the people pleaser he is, decided to tell her family they were on a mutual break instead of telling everybody she cheated, and that was the AP. Alyssa's mom, fortunately, didn't believe him, and came to me. I didn't hold back, I told her that she's been cheating on Noah for months, and that she recently bragged to me about her sugar daddy AP, and that's the only reason she's come clean to Noah. Alyssa's mom then dropped a bomb on me that even I didn't know, Alyssa is a serial cheater. Her mom said in high school, Alyssa would bring boys home under the guise of school projects or sports-related things, but she caught Alyssa kissing 2 different boys. Keep in mind, she was dating Noah all this time. She said she didn't think much of it, and just chalked it up to being a crazy hormonal teenager. She also said she never expected her to marry her high school boyfriend, and by the time they were married, she figured Alyssa had stopped doing all this stuff. Neither her nor I have no idea if she's done anything like that since high school through to the present, but I'm not interested in digging further into it. This just explains why Alyssa was just so nonchalant about cheating, because apparently she has just always done it. I'm guessing her girl boss friends awoke something inside her, and she remembered how easily and nonchalantly she would cheat, and it inspired to just do it again. I don't know, I'll be honest, I kind of yelled at her mother, something I'm not proud of. Like I've said in previous posts, Alyssa's mom is basically my mom, so formalities and everything aren't something I think about when I talk to her. So I freaked out and told her she set Noah up for this kind of life, when he could have found somebody 10 times better. She took it like a champ, and just let me vent until I was calm again. I apologized for yelling, but calmly said you and I both know Noah deserved better. You should have said something before he got married to her. She agreed, but said it's too late now to focus on that, and that the real issue at this time was supporting Noah. I told her if she wanted to support Noah, she could have told him his fiancée was a cheater 10 years ago, and hung up on her. I've since talked to her, we're fine, but I was just too mad at her in the moment. Next thing that happened was that the photos got back to a colleague, and both of them were out of job before their vacation was even over. As I assumed, their workplace was extremely upset, and did consider Alyssa getting the promotion favoritism, and they were both let go. Noah told me there was at least 3 HR complaints about them, so it was a no-brainer. Of course, the beautiful relationship Alyssa and her AP had turned sour as soon as he learned he was let go from his 6-figure job because of her. He was so pissed, he even cancelled Alyssa's plane ticket home out of spite, and planned to leave her stranded there. This is where all of you will be disappointed, and so am I, but Noah immediately forgave her, bought her a ticket, and moved her back in. She told him it was just a huge mistake, and seeing how her AP treated her made her realize what she could have lost. It's obviously all BS to me and hubby, but you already know Noah ate that shit up. He's told us that he's urging her to go to couples counseling, but OFC it's not an ultimatum, so basically she just got to have her cake and eat it with no consequences. We told Noah previously, and reminded him, that if he decided to take Alyssa back, we'd be going at the very least low contact. We kept to our word, and have completely blocked Alyssa, and have Noah unblocked, but don't plan to engage in small talk to invitations to stuff. We refuse to be like him and just act like this never happened, because that's not normal. He understood, but told us he has to stand by the vows he made to his wife, which we both understand to an extent, and wished him well. So yep, Alyssa got to sleep with another man, go on a nice vacation, lose her job, and still gets a bed and a husband to come home to. All's well that ends well. IDEC how to feel about this. Like if they want to live their fucked up broken marriage life, that's their choice. I'm not even mad anymore, just drained. I'm almost glad it's over now, because I don't know if I could deal with this for months on end. I knew this was going to happen eventually, it's just who Noah is, but it feels just as idiotic as it sounds. I'm just rambling at this point. I'm glad we decided to step back, because honestly, both of them have very clear psychological issues that needs to be addressed with a professional, but neither of them will ever do that. I'd rather be rid of people like this. Sorry if I'm being blunt or mean, but at the end of the day, both of them have issues I didn't sign up to deal with. I don't need this kind of stress while hubby and I are trying for kids. So yeah, I guess this is it. Yep, top comments. Commenter 1, I feel for Noah. He'll always be a sucker for her and she'll always get away with anything. No consequences for anything, MC is not an ultimatum, sigh, unbelievable. Maybe one day he'll catch her with a guy in their own bed and he'll snap out of it. You did the right thing the way you handled it and distanced yourself RN. Don't turn your back on Noah though. He's going to need people. Commenter 2, I feel no sympathy for Noah. He needs to find his balls from wherever she hid them. BC she will cheat on him again and he will always stupidly take her back. You're completely justified staying away from that mess. New update. Editor's note, the latest update is over 5 months old and hasn't been posted here on the sub. Update, November 2nd, 2024, almost 1 month later from the prior update. It's been about a month since I last posted. I wasn't planning on updating, but the most hilarious thing happened with Alyssa and Noah. I needed to tell something. Bear with me, this is all through the grapevine. BC Hub and I are still NC with them. So first off, Noah has rewarded Alyssa's cheating with another vacation. They're planning on going to Italy for their vow renewal. Their plan is to basically start over their marriage, even though they've been together for 15 plus years. NGL, I burst out laughing when I was told this. I just think it's so hilarious that they're both gonna sweep this under the rug and try to act like their life didn't implode. But hey, if it makes them happy, who am I to stop them? The second thing is they've decided to try for a baby. One thing Alyssa and I always bonded over was being conservatives who wanted to be child-free. Neither of us just felt like we would be good mothers. Of course, since we live in a largely conservative community with conservative families, we were always basically bullied into changing our mind. But we had each other, that's the important part. Once I met my husband, I had kind of changed my mind about kids, which we are also currently trying for, but Alyssa never swayed. The last conversation we had about her family pressuring her into kids was about 2 months ago, a week or two before the cheating incident. Not only do I think this is a terrible idea because the baby is going to grow up in a dysfunctional family, I guarantee Alyssa won't love this child. I honestly just feel pity for everyone involved now. Noah for thinking his life has to be staying with a cheater, Alyssa for basically forcing herself to live a life she doesn't want to live, and their future child for being born into this clusterfuck. But yeah, consider this the official end. Maybe I'll be back in a year or two when it turns out Noah has been raising another man's baby. Stories number 6. I resent my wife and being a father, so I lie to get out of doing things. This feels terrible, and like avoiding the consequences of my actions, but I can't help what I feel. Me and my wife have been together for 9 years, married for 7. Early in our marriage I thought I was ready to be a dad, and we started trying. Soon she was pregnant, and suddenly I panicked. I realized I wasn't actually ready to be a dad, and I didn't want that. I didn't want the sleepless nights, the hard work, the responsibility. So, when she had a miscarriage, I admit, I was relieved. My wife never really acted like she was super into motherhood, and her approach was mostly, if it happens, it happens. But after the miscarriage she had the opposite reaction to me. She really wanted to become a mother now. We had many difficult conversations where I explained I didn't want to sacrifice everything parenthood required me to sacrifice. I loved her and our life together, and kids would only make everything worse. She, for her part, told me she felt broken and like less of a woman because she couldn't bear children, and didn't know if she ever could. I told her it was the entirely wrong reason to bring life into this world. It felt very selfish, and like she'd regret it. She, for her part, threatened me with divorce, and eventually I caved. We started trying. Almost as soon as I breathed in her general direction unprotected, she got pregnant again. Pregnancy went smoothly, but the birth was an absolute nightmare. It took forever, anesthesia failed, she tore her pelvic floor, she had preeclampsia and almost died. I was terrified that I would lose her, and that was going to be raising that child on my own. I never wanted to go through that again. Yes, I realized that obviously it was worse for her, but the difference is that she went through all that for something she really wanted, whereas I was basically dragged into it. But as soon as our daughter came out, I cried. She was the most beautiful, amazing thing I had ever seen. I loved her immediately. Still, raising her has really hard. At first I had to do it practically by myself as my wife had to recover from the complications of the birth. Our daughter, got sick a lot, and there were many sleepless nights. When my wife finally did start pitching in, she never stopped complaining. Maybe there was some postpartum depression there too, I don't know. Still, when our daughter was 7 months old, and my wife still kept complaining about how it was all so hard and so bad, I snapped at her. She kept harping at me for months about how she couldn't be truly happy without being a mom. Why was I doing all the work? Why was she always miserable? And anyway, complaining about me is one thing, but about our daughter? Constantly saying what a difficult child check was, what a little goblin, etc. How wavany of this her fault? I told her, I told you so, which went over about as well as you'd expect. So I didn't bring it up again. Besides, my wife was making more than me, and our parents aren't around. Mine died, hers were not in contact with over some very bad shit. So I quit my job to raise our kid at some point. I quit my job so that she could experience the true joy of motherhood. I only got back to it when she was 3. By that point things calmed down slightly, and we were finding our balance finally. And it was actually a lot of fun. Our daughter is really cute and it's so much fun taking her places since she basically enjoys everything, and it's fun constantly getting free desserts and being fawned over for raising such a great kid. I was happy again. After a rough patch I could finally say I loved my life. And then my wife started complaining that it wasn't fair to only bring one child into the world. She needed a sibling like she, my wife, has. I retorted that, as my wife keeps reminding me, her sister is a really selfish person and is never there for her. Bringing another kid is going to be even harder, since it's not like our daughter is old enough to take care of herself. It's going to be hell, and she's going to be miserable. For a while I held my ground, but then her sister got pregnant, second kid, so out came the threats of divorce again. Again, I caved, because now it wasn't just about her, it meant she'd take my daughter away too. Well, again we got pregnant super easy. This time, at least, the birth went fine. But, look, I'm not proud of this. It's not a comfortable thing for a parent to admit, but my son did not evoke the same reaction. I was just kinda numb when he was born. My son being a very fussy baby doesn't help. And whenever he starts crying at night all I can think of is, go to sleep. I did not want you. I did not want this. And I admit, I'm not taking on the brunt of childcare on myself this time. Wife is still on maternity leave and is absolutely miserable, but I'm not stepping up this time. I think me letting her avoid facing just how hard raising a child can be last time might be what got us here, so instead I checked out. I lied about work being really busy and having to work long hours to get out of taking care of the baby and getting up at night. Instead I just sit at my work desk and play games on my laptop or watch Netflix a few hours every day before going home. When I'm home I keep complaining about how tired I am from work, and by the time I finish cooking, putting our daughter to bed and doing the dishes, it's time to go to bed. Whenever my wife asks me to get up for the baby more I explain that I really need to be at my best for work so I can't. When my wife brought up her maternity leave ending, 6 months here, I just shrugged and said I guess she's going to have to consider leaving her job, because I did that once and I have no intention of doing it again. I like my job and am doing well and have absolutely no intention of leaving it. We can get a nanny if she wants. She got pretty upset at that, and talk of divorce came up, but at this point she went to that well one time too many. If she thinks she can do better on her own, I wish her luck. Hell, as AskReddit said, I even suggested we get a nanny, she refuses outright. So at this point she can just sleep in the bed she made. Or at least she would if our youngest let her get any sleep. Her sister, unsurprisingly, is busy with her own kids and is completely unavailable. So this is where we stand. I do underhanded crap to get time to myself every day so that my wife can fully experience the joy of motherhood, while she is absolutely miserable. I hope this at least dissuades any notions of a third kid, and I know what some of you are going to say, I should have communicated honestly, and well, I tried it, again and again. All I got was explanations about how she couldn't possibly be happy without being a mother, then by only having one kid. If me communicating is only going to lead to threats of divorce, well, I hope she is happy now that she got what she wanted. But it isn't what I wanted, and I'm done. I'm not really looking for advice, and maybe I'm the worst person ever for doing this, but I just wanted to share this. Thank you for reading. Edit. To everyone saying I should not have done that, alright, let me just hop into my time machine and get right on that, thanks for the great advice. Stories number 7. AITA for walking out of my own birthday dinner after my fiancé's little surprise. So last night was my 28th birthday. My fiancé Brian planned this surprise dinner at a really nice restaurant with my friends and some of my family. I'm not huge on big attention, but I thought okay, maybe he's doing something thoughtful for once. Dinner's going fine, food's good, I'm chilling, and then right before dessert Brian stands up and starts doing this whole speech about how proud he is of me and how he got me a gift that'll change my life. Then he says he paid off my student loans. At first I was in shock. I actually teared up. Everyone clapped. My mom was crying. I was about to stand up and hug him, then he adds that he only paid off half of it, and that the other half is on me because he wants me to learn how to be financially responsible and not rely on other people to fix my problems. Like. What? He basically turned my birthday into a public lecture. People were laughing like it was some cute life lesson. My cousin was like, damn, that's tough love. I just sat there frozen, then I stood up, took my purse, and walked right out. He came running after me like what's wrong, he was trying to be helpful and he didn't mean to upset me. I told him he embarrassed me, used my debt to make a point in front of everyone, and I wasn't in the mood to be someone's teachable moment. Now a few people are saying I overreacted and he meant well. If you want to help, just help, don't use it to humiliate me in front of 20 people. Stories number 8. AITA for being angry that my husband's ex-wife let my runaway teenager stay at her house. Advice needed. My son, 17M, ran away from home in January 2025. The last time I saw him was mid-February at an extracurricular activity, and he hasn't reached out to me since. He doesn't have a phone, so I can't contact him. I've been tracking his school attendance, which gives me some peace of mind when I see that he's attended class, but since it's been spring break, I've been extremely anxious and worried about him. On Saturday, April 5th, I went to one of his friends' houses, while my husband was at work, and their parents confirmed that they had seen him earlier that day. It gave me a little bit of relief, but not nearly as much as I had hoped. Later that evening, I was confiding in my husband about my anxiety and depression over the whole situation. During this conversation, my husband mentioned that my son had recently spent the night at his ex-wife's house. They share 50-50 custody of their son, my stepson. Not only have we co-parented well for over 6 years, but we are also friends. But now I'm livid. I understand that my husband might have thought he mentioned it, but I didn't find out until now, over a week later, and I feel blindsided. My main issue is with my husband's ex-wife. She's a mother and my friend, and I would expect her to empathize with the anxiety and worry I've been going through. I really feel she should have reached out to let me know that she had seen him. Secondly, I can't understand why she would let him stay with her. Even if she was trying to be kind, I don't think she should have enabled him by letting him crash at her house for the weekend without consulting me first. At the very least, I feel like I deserve the opportunity to weigh in on the situation. I'm not sure how to handle this moving forward. My resentment toward my husband's ex is growing, and I'm not sure if I'm overreacting or if my feelings are justified. Am I overreacting? How should I handle this? Stories number 9. How do I, 31F, tell my colleague, 44F, her behavior is bordering on sexual harassment, and how do I deal with her in general? I've been working on a remote mine site for about 18 months. Have really only started being friends with this woman in the last 6 months. We work 2 weeks and then go home for a week. My general work philosophy is I'm here to work, not make friends. So I am quite happy not having friends and just doing my job. But I figured what's the worst that could happen, right? So to start things off. She's got bipolar, so her moods are up and down all the time, and frankly she can be downright scary when her moods are down. When we initially started hanging out we made a joke about dildos. I'm a fairly open-minded person and I do like a good joke. However, since that joke she has been sending me photos of dildos almost every day. I've stopped replying to them. But apparently that didn't work. A few weeks later she told me that she thought I was hot and I had gorgeous eyes, but she wouldn't try anything with me because she knows I have a boyfriend. Since then she keeps telling me how attracted she is to me. I've told her I am flattered but I'm not into women, which was kind of a lie. She's just not the type of woman I'd be interested in regardless. She laid off for a little while, which made me think maybe she's not too bad. Somehow she invited herself over to my house. I don't drink a lot because I've had issues in the past. I told her she could swing by but I wasn't going to be drinking. So she comes over with her own booze and gets hammered. I let my dogs inside for a little bit, one wasn't interested in her. So she called her a fat fuck on several occasions. I took my dogs out because they shouldn't be treated like that, even if they don't understand what's being said to them. Since then she keeps trying to invite herself around, and to be honest I see enough of her at work. I like my own space. Even when it comes to my boyfriend, she keeps questioning the relationship I have with my boyfriend of 4 years. Asking whether or not I should be with him. She's only met him once and doesn't want to hang around me when he is around. He also works up at the same mine site occasionally depending on what work he's got on. Yet she keeps telling me and other people how hot he is and that I shouldn't worry because she won't try anything. Most recently, she told me that she had a sex dream about me and she had to tell me so it wouldn't be weird. Which I don't get, because now it's certainly more weird. On top of all that, she doesn't respect my personal space. She will try to touch me. She's always nudging me with her elbow. Which is irritating AF. I don't like being touched, never have. I think she thinks she's being subtle about it, but it's totally obvious to me. For example, I show her a photo on my phone and she grabs it so she has to touch my hand despite there being plenty of room to grab the phone without making contact. What to do? She's batshit crazy and will probably kill me in my sleep. TLDR, colleague is batshit crazy. Keeps sending me dildo photos. Tells me I'm hot and have gorgeous eyes, but not to worry, she won't try anything. Questions my 4-year relationship with my boyfriend, yet tells me and anyone else who will listen how hot my boyfriend is, but it's okay, she won't try anything on him either. Tells me about the sex dreams she has about me. And tries to touch me. WTF do I do about it? Edit, I forgot to mention that she seems obsessed with mine and my boyfriend's bedroom habits. Like she will ask me what I did on my RNR and before I can reply she'll say something like I bet you had heaps of sex. Truth of it is we are more likely to be smashing out the video games than each other. Relevant comments. Commenter, that does sound like sexual harassment. Do you have a HR policy? Like I realize mining sites in the middle of nowhere are probably somewhat different to a metropolitan office, but if someone was doing that to me, I'd complain. Reply, we do. I just don't know if it's worth the stress of getting HR involved or if I can try to deal with the situation myself first. TBH, when I started I thought it was going to be the men I'd have to worry about. Commenter, stop hinting around and just tell her. Stop sending me dildos. Stop asking about my sex life. Stop coming on to me. I'm not interested in you. I don't want to report you to HR. This has to stop or I will. Refly, I've been giving her the cold shoulder. Seems to be working, sort of. Got a message from her today saying she's unhappy and needs to be alone. Yet she is sitting right next to me on Smoko. Commenter, have you told her how you feel? Reply, I've made it clear that I have no interest in her or women, sexually. I've made it abundantly clear that I am in love with my boyfriend more than ever. She knows we have just been approved for a loan to build a house together, so things are kind of serious. I've told her that I don't like being touched. In fact, yesterday on the bus ride home, she was leaning on me and I told her straight up she was in my bubble. She got cranky and moved seats. Commenter, she likes you. A lot. Like a lot. Can you get reassigned to a different schedule so you aren't around her so often? Can you say that you're having personal issues and don't want to talk, even if you make up a story? Perhaps even something tragic. She sounds absolutely awful. Never heard of someone calling dogs fat fucks. That is absolutely bizarre, on any level. The sex dream thing is her just trying to do anything to get you to do something with her. I honestly don't have many other suggestions. Your situation is unlike anything I've ever heard. I would just keep trying to display no interest and keep my distance from her. Reply, I've been trying to get other roles at work so I can avoid her. My last resort would be to change my roster. I don't really want to do that as it is a bit of hassle and they won't just let you switch around without a valid reason. My partner will be up here more often in the coming months as he has some regular work. So she won't hassle me too much while he is around. Which will be a bit of a relief. And yeah. Who calls someone's dog a fat fuck? Sure, my dog is a bit chubby, but it's something we're working on. I don't even talk to my dogs like that when they've been naughty. If I was going to be honest, that's the one thing that's really irritated me. Update, she tried to kill me November 26, 2017, 2 days later. TLDR, colleague is batshit crazy. Keeps sending me dildo photos. Tells me I'm hot and have gorgeous eyes, but not to worry, she won't try anything. Questions my 4-year relationship with my boyfriend, yet tells me and anyone else who will listen how hot my boyfriend is, but it's okay, she won't try anything on him either. Tells me about the sex dreams she has about me. And tries to touch me. WTF do I do about it? Update. So I told her that I am happy to have a friendly professional relationship with her. But, I'm not comfortable with anything more than that. I told her she needs to stop touching me and respect my boundaries. The next day I get a text message from her saying, morning. Think we should call it a day. You take care and good luck with all your plans. I think she legit thought we had something going on. Ick. That evening after work I went to the wet mess to catch up with my boyfriend, who flew up for a breakdown. We were having a few drinks when she comes up to me and asks if she could talk to me privately. I decline and she pulls out a fucking knife. I manage to put my arm up to shield my face and she slices my arm open. My boyfriend and a few other guys manage to get the knife off her and restrain her. Everything is a little bit hazy. It took about half an hour for the medic to arrive. They DOD the best they can. Then I'm put on an ambulance and driven an hour and a half to the closest hospital. Again they do their best to patch me up, but they don't have the best resources available. I'm flying back to my city today and will need to catch up with a plastic surgeon. Unfortunately, I've been told, there's going to be a fair bit of nerve damage. All credit to the doctors here doing the best they can with what they have though. As far as I am aware she's been arrested and charged with grievous bodily harm. Haven't really had a chance to catch up with the police myself yet as I've been in surgery and high on painkillers. They have plenty of witness statements. Needless to say, I won't have to worry about her at work anymore. But she does know where I live, which is worrying. I'm also going to be off work for a while, which is going to impact me financially. I'm not sure if this counts as workers' comp as I was up at work or what. I do have income protection, so that will help me out a little bit. Ugh. Anywho, it's taken ages to write this on my phone as I only have one good hand. I feel like I will be more angry once the painkillers wear off. TLDR, told her I only wanted a professional relationship. She tried to kill me but only managed to stab me in the arm. Heaps of nerve damage though. She's been arrested. I'm stuck in a hospital in the middle of the Australian outback. We'll be flying home today and catching up with plastic surgeon. We'll be off work for a while. Yay. Stories number 10. AITA for breaking up with my girlfriend after she insisted I pay for her sister's student loans. So I, 28M, have been dating my girlfriend, 26F, for about 2 years. A few months ago, I got really lucky on stake and won about $80,000. Not life-changing money, but definitely a nice chunk of change. My girlfriend has been struggling with student loans, about $35,000, so I decided to help her out and paid them off completely. She was super grateful at first, crying and thanking me for weeks. Fast forward to last week. Her sister, 24F, is also dealing with student loans, about $42,000 worth. My girlfriend started hinting that since I helped her, should also help her sister. I laughed it off at first, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. She got increasingly pushy about it, saying things like, "You have plenty left," and "It's selfish to help me but not my sister," and "Family helps family." I explained that while I care about her family, I'm not responsible for her sister's loans. I already did something generous that most boyfriends wouldn't do, and her sister's finances aren't my responsibility. This turned into a massive fight where she called me selfish and greedy. She literally said, "What's the point of having money if you don't help people with it?" She then gave me an ultimatum, either pay her sister's loans or she'd reconsider our relationship. I broke up with her on the spot. Now she's blowing up my phone saying I overreacted and her family thinks I'm an asshole. So Reddit, AITA for refusing to pay for her sister's loans and ending the relationship over this? Top comment. Asat, 1. You can reverse a student loan payment. I did when there was that chance of the 10K forgiveness and it was months after they payment. Your Mtaan should get your money back since she so quickly showed her true colors. AITA for reversing the student loan payment I made for my ex-girlfriend. April 1st, 2025. So a couple weeks ago I posted about how I, 28M, broke up with my GF, 26F, after she demanded I pay off her sister's $42,000 in loans after already paying off her $35,000 loans. Y'all overwhelmingly said NTA and suggested I reverse the payment. Well, I did exactly that. Called the loan servicer, explained the situation, and was able to get the $35,000 payment reversed. My ex absolutely lost it when she found out, blowing up my phone with 50+ texts calling me every name in the book. She's telling everyone I stole from her and her family is threatening legal action, LOL good luck. Her sister even showed up at my apartment screaming about how I ruined their plans, whatever that means. My friends are split, half think it was savage but justified, others think I should have just walked away without taking the money back. But honestly, the fact they immediately started planning how to spend my money on the sister confirms I made the right call. So AITA for taking back money that was clearly part of a manipulation scheme. Top comments. Commenter. So glad to read this update. They acted entitled to your money before and after all of this. Go treat yourself, get a new phone number and put cameras up at your place. Save all the texts in case you need to go the legal route with the harassment. Commenter. They were straight up trying to use you as a human ATM. And their reaction? Just proves they were never in it for anything real. They're screaming about stealing when they were trying to steal your money, LMAO. The sister showing up at your apartment? That's harassment. They're all showing their true colors, and they're ugly. You did the right thing. They wanted to play games, and now they're finding out they can't win. Let them cry about it. They're lucky you didn't press charges. Stories number 11. AITA for telling my coworker to freshen up for an important event. Throwaway account since the people involved use Reddit. I, 32M, work at a company with the occasional events. I take them as chances to network with people from other companies and so on. My coworker, 33M, who we'll call Ben, is pretty scruffy. Showing up to work in the same outfit he wore the previous day and even sleeping at his desk sometimes. I've never interacted with him one-on-one per se, but we've been on the same projects and I'm friendly with him. Here is where the issue is. Recently, there was a company event, and, for once, Ben didn't really participate or speak about it beforehand, so most of us assumed he wasn't going. I didn't expect him to come, of course, but he did in the most unprofessional outfit. He was wearing wrinkled clothes and colors that didn't match. Like he rolled out of bed. He walked up to my circle and we locked eyes, and I joked that he should have freshed up a bit to an event like this, and there were some chuckles, but everyone was mostly silent. He soon walked away and my other coworker pulled me aside and told me that I was way out of line, and her and my colleagues think that I shouldn't have spoken about his attire, especially since I don't know him very well. I thought I was just making a joke to lighten the mood. I haven't seen him since and he's been actively avoiding me. Mostly everyone in my circle is expecting me to apologize to Ben, AITA, for making a joke. Edit, I understand how the joke wasn't a joke at all now, and I'll be apologizing to Ben at work tomorrow. Consensus, asshole. Notable comments. Someone wearing the same clothes, looking unkempt, and falling asleep at their desk sounds like someone who is going through something. Awesome that you chose to embarrass him. YTA constant aggressive. He didn't try to make a joke. He tried to make his coworker a joke. He stated an opinionated statement to try to ridicule and humiliate a coworker. OP, you may have gotten a few chuckles, but they were probably nervous laughter from witnessing a huge disrespectful action, which obviously offended one party. Just remember, karma is real and you aren't perfect. I hope someday someone points out that you have a giant leaking pimple on your forehead and a booger dangling out of your nose by a hair in the middle of a meeting. Professionalism and tact are both useful skills, Captain Crunchamunch. The only darkening of the mood happened at OP's joke, making everyone feel uncomfortable. Estrella. When my students say something hurtful, I ask them three things. Was it true? Was it kind? Was it necessary? So, was it? Cat Monday. Update. Thank you to everyone who made me realize I was in the wrong. I have been in contact with Ben lately and it's been good between us. Firstly, I apologized the minute I saw him. I didn't care who was watching, I just did it. He was sorta awkward, now that I think about it, and it took him a few days to slightly warm up to me. The coworker who told me off for my joke informed me that Ben found out he has chronic pneumonia. It was severe, that he was hospitalized for it. His insurance company didn't cover most of the cost, so he was left with a crippling amount to pay. I should have noticed his health was deteriorating as soon as he went from a cane to a crutch, but I was too caught up with myself to even see it. The people who didn't laugh at my joke knew about his situation and they're all trying to help him in their own ways. The nature of my joke was incredibly out of place. I can't even begin to explain myself for something like that, and even though Ben assured me that it's okay, I'll be trying to make his life easier, or at least his work life. We recently started coming to work together since we found out we live pretty close to one another. I'm starting to realize what a great person he really is. Stories number 12. My husband passed away and his ex-GF wants me to adopt their kids. This is sort of a long story, but I need to share because I'm feeling so overwhelmed. Everyone in my life has opinion, some very strong opinion, and I just want a place to vent and to get some unbiased opinions. My husband died 1 week before Thanksgiving. We were, unofficially, separated at the time. We were not living together. I still loved him, but I had chosen to distance myself due to his drug addiction, in hopes that he would seek treatment and get clean. He was seeking help, but it was not enough and he overdosed. He had trouble with drugs when he was younger, like college age, but he got clean and I believe he stayed clean for many years. He had a girlfriend back then who also became addicted to drugs and they had 2 kids. Ultimately, he got clean, had a good job, had his life in order and was doing everything he was supposed to, and he was awarded custody of their 2 kids. I actually knew him back in elementary and middle school. We lost touch when we attended different high schools. We didn't meet again until after that first instance of addicted and recovery. He had been clean for a few years when we met. His kids were 5 and 3, and they're 10 and 8 now. Their mom had supervised visitation. I have no biological children of my own. He passed away and I'm devastated over it. I can't really accept it yet. But I feel especially crushed for his children. They haven't had an easy time over the past year or so as he's dealt with his problems, and now they've suffered the ultimate loss. I've remained in their lives even while we were separated and not living together. He moved back in with his parents and took his girls with him, but I still visited them often and remained involved in all aspects of their lives. I never called myself their mom, but I essentially was their mom on a day-to-day basis. I did all the things a mom would do. Their mom was recently arrested on a burglary-related charge and is in prison. This happened after he died. I thought she was doing better. She was at his memorial and seemed more together than many times in the last. She wrote me a very heartbreaking and heartfelt letter asking me to adopt her daughters. She basically admitted she doesn't know if she'll ever overcome her addiction, and that she doesn't want the girls to go live with relatives on either side. She wants them to stay with me because it's what they know now and she feels they're safe. She said they asked her if they can come live with me and referred to my house, our former family home, as home. I wasn't expecting that at all. She hadn't been particularly fond of me before. She's been talking for years about how she's going to get clean for her girls and get custody of them again, and she actually had some good moments, but it never stuck. I feel like the world's worst person by not immediately saying yes. I haven't responded to her at all yet. I feel like the world's most evil person not immediately saying yes. I love those girls. I've lived with them as essentially their mom for several years. I've worried about them every single day. Yet, why do I find myself thinking, do I really want to do this? I also don't even know if it'll be possible and or what kind of fight it'd be. I don't think his parents will agree so easily. I got along with his parents just fine, but they're big on family and they are absolutely destroyed by his death, so I can't imagine they'd let the girls go without a big fight. I can't help but wonder what kind of possibly lifelong mess I'd be getting myself into if I pursued this. Dealing with her, both sides of the girl's extended family, the trauma the girls will probably be dealing with forever because of their parents. I don't know that I'm strong enough to handle it all and it makes me feel like a horrible human being. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, you are not a horrible human being for pausing to think about this. You stepped up in a huge way when their mom couldn't. But TBH, I would imagine if mom is looking to give up custody or sign away her rights, his parents or kin on her side, that are clean and stable, would get priority. Would you be willing to go to court for the kids? Be involved in a legal battle? Get an attorney? That's the other facet about this. I'm not sure if his parents are older or may not want to. I know this may seem selfish, but have you thought about how this may impact your future in terms of any partnerships, getting married again, or having bio kids? You didn't say your age or if you really want to have bio kids one day. Think about all of this. Your last paragraph summed it all up. I was a foster parent that considered adoption but decided not to. Adopting children with trauma is a massive undertaking. Boundaries are everything. Is mom suggesting this under the assumption she will have access to the kids whenever she wants? She wants her family to have access too. What do you know about her side of the family? Your situation is very unique, but what I've seen with other open adoptions is that you end up raising kids that, at the end of the day, you don't ever really feel are yours. Let's say mom does go in front of a judge and says I want to give custody away. And neither side decides to step up to the plate. If you were to agree, pursue, and be granted adoption, I wouldn't want you to be surprised when the same people who didn't want the permanent responsibility of raising those kids, are commenting on every single last decision you make regarding their care. They could even try to create a division between the kids and you. Again, I don't know these people, I'm just giving you scenarios. I pray you find peace with whatever decision you choose to make in the end. Reply, I'm 35. My husband was 36. His parents are in their 60s. They're physically fit for being in their 60s. I've definitely thought about how it could impact my future. I mean, I'm still reeling from everything that's happened. A year ago, things were fine. This has all happened in the span of less than a year. I'm in no hurry to start a relationship with somebody new. I feel like I'm sort of at a point where I'm having to evaluate, what do I want? I say that completely unrelated to the situation with the girls. I didn't expect to be in this position. I didn't marry him with the expectation that any of this would happen and he'd die, leaving me a widow at 35. Even after he relapsed, I was still trying to determine if I could ever fully be with him again if he got clean. I hadn't decided completely against staying married. I wasn't ready to divorce him. But I was also starting to think, okay, if he gets clean and we stay married, I probably will never have kids with him because that's a risk I can't take. Am I okay with that? Commenter 2, the only question you need to answer now is, do you love them and do you want them in your life? Can you provide for them? If the answer to all three is yes, then it's worth the struggle. Do his parents have custody? Or did he and they just stayed there? If they don't have custody, the mother needs to get CPS involved and tell them the girls want a life with you and she wants them to live with you too. So the first step is getting custody. If you get custody, the next step is the adoption process. As there is only the mother left, she can give up her parental rights in the process, not Beaver to be safe. Reply: his parents have temporary custody, but they want it to be permanent. The girl's mother seemed to be doing well and she was in the process of trying to get custody of them, so that's where things were at until we were sort of all surprised to hear she got arrested. She was doing everything she was supposed to be doing to show she could be a fit parent. We all had reservations, but she genuinely appeared to be doing well, employed, looked healthy. She hooked up with a former boyfriend and whenever the two of them are together she relapses and they end up getting arrested. I love them and want them in my life, but I think there are ways for me to be in their lives without having custody of them. Of course, their grandparents would ultimately be the ones to control that if they ended up getting permanent custody, and they're still mad at me over separating from him. They're enablers. They don't realize it and it comes from a place with good intentions, but they're the type who think they can just love him into getting clean, so they saw me as abandoning him. Commenter 3, this would be a huge responsibility to take on. Could you even afford the kids? Adopting, even under good circumstances, means caring for them for schooling, health problems, emotional problems. Everything. And this doesn't sound ideal. They have grandparents who want them and would probably fight you for them. I think you should continue to see them regularly and provide support as you can. Things could easily change, mom might clean up her act, grandparents may change their minds, you could meet someone new to start a new life with, etc. I'd wait. Don't pursue anything. If you decided to pursue adoption, go to a family lawyer first, someone who can really tell you the potential pitfalls of adoption in this scenario. Reply: I worry about finances. I make okay money and can support myself, but supporting 2 kids as well on a single person income? I'm already planning to sell the house and downsize. We bought this house right before the housing market went crazy. Houses in our neighborhood sell for $200,000 plus more than what we bought this house for, so I can make a profit and create a safety net with that. Update: my husband passed away and his ex-GF wants me to adopt their kids. I posted this under a different username, but I can't get into that account now. My husband died from a drug overdose in November 2024. He had drug issues when he was in his late teens, early 20s, got clean, and remained clean for many years. He had full custody of his 2 daughters, who are now 8 and 10. He relapsed sometime in 2024. He and I were separated and living apart at the time of his death. I had hoped that he'd get things back on track and we could be together again. The mother of his daughters is also a drug addict. She never managed to get and stay clean for any significant stretches. She's been arrested multiple times. She was at his memorial service and seemed to be in good shape for her, but she was arrested soon after that. She's still in jail now. When she first entered jail this last time, she wrote me a letter telling me she wanted me to adopt her daughters. They'd been living with my husband's parents, but had asked me several times about when they'd be able to go home to what had been our family home. I was basically their mom. I never referred to myself as their mom and they didn't call me mom, but I filled that role. They had sporadic contact with their actual mother. In the letter she wrote me, she even told me they told her they wanted to live with me. I posted about all of this 3 months ago. Since then, I've decided to pursue custody of them. It was a huge decision and one that, while I spent a lot of time thinking about, I didn't have the luxury of taking too long. What finally tipped me over the edge was my former in-laws saying they didn't believe the girls should go to therapy to help them deal with their father's death and their virtually absent, drug-addicted mother. It was shocking, because what person in their right mind wouldn't think these girls should have all of the help they can get? At the same time, it wasn't surprising coming from them. They lived in denial of their son's problems too. They were the biggest enablers I ever met as well. They're extremely focused on image and achievement, just being the best, sports, competition. I believe they have good intentions, but they doesn't change how their actions affected their son, other children, or grandchildren. I never thought I'd be teaming up with my husband's ex-GF, but here we are. This isn't easy for her. No, she's not been a present or good mom, but I know she wishes she was. I know it's hard for her to admit she can't be their mom. Despite her problems and her track record of extreme selfishness, I can't imagine what it takes to give up custody of your children, and I'm glad she's finally putting her own wants aside to do what she thinks is best for her kids. I'm also sorry for her that despite still having parental rights over the girls, she's not being granted the authority to allow them to be adopted by somebody she designates. I understand there needs to be safety measures in place to ensure children are placed with safe people, but I'm willing to do any sort of evaluations needed to prove I can provide a safe and stable home for them. You'd think it'd be as simple as her terminating her parental rights and indicating that she wants me to adopt the children, and while that is part of the process, it's not actually that cut and dry. His parents, who again are obsessed with winning everything, have already tried to block this with the courts. They're basically trying to file some sort of injunction where if her rights are severed they get first chance to adopt the girls, and they are trying to drag me through the mud in the process and frame it to look like I can't be a fit parent. I may be single, but they're in their 60s. The girls love them but they don't want to live with them full time. Up until last summer, our home where they lived with me and their dad had been their home for almost as long as they could remember. I'm not wealthy. I support myself just fine but I don't have reserves to fight this if they really want to take it that far. And the annoying thing is, I still get the sense that ultimately they're doing this just because they want to win, and they also have an obsession with family and their family name. I never expressed any intention of trying to sever the relationship between them and the girls. Even if I don't necessarily like or agree with certain things about them, I told them outright that I felt we all could and should be part of the girls' lives. The girls do love their grandparents and their aunts, my husband's sisters, neither of which has shown any interest in gaining custody of the girls. I think they need as many people who love and care about them in their lives, and that even includes their mother's family who I'd also grin and bear for their sake. I'm just so frustrated, and this isn't something that most people can easily relate to. I thankfully have many people who support me, even if they think I'm crazy for doing this at the same time. It's just that I suppose there's very little advice anyone can give me from experience. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, wow. With all the selfish stupid things that are happening right now, here comes the wife of a drug addict taking on his kids. You are a superstar. Thank you for loving them and please let us know how this plays out. Reply, thanks, but I'd prefer not to be referred to as the wife of a drug addict. I mean, he was a drug addict, but he was a lot more than that to me and to his kids. And the way I see it now is that I took on the responsibility of his kids a long time ago, long before I knew it'd end up this way. I knew the situation going in, regarding their mom that is. At the time, he was clean and he had dull custody of the kids. We were a family, so why would I suddenly not continue that role in their lives now? So I don't see myself as anything special, just doing what makes sense to do. I also feel like he'd want them to be with me too, and in a way I guess I feel I'm doing this for him, like it's one thing I can do for him. I couldn't fix his addiction or fix a lot of his problems, but I can at least do my best to keep his kids in their own home, in their own bedrooms, and raise them the way he'd want them to be raised. Commenter 2, if you are in the US, request a guardian ad litem for your case. These can be lawyers or CASA, court-appointed special advocates, who do a deep dive, will speak with the children and their mother, and make a recommendation to the court on behalf of the child. Good luck to you. You are an amazing person and exactly the mom these girls need. Reply, definitely looking into this. Commenter 3, I don't think grandparents in their 60s are too old to take care of their grandkids and OP is trying to prevent that. So I would be hesitant to take everything OP said as whole picture. The grandparents apparently didn't think therapy was needed because they have tendency of denial and helping their son too much, but it's hardly to worst crime. I think it's likely they get the custody not OP, and the bio mom's parental rights would be terminated too. Court would not care that they think being good at sports is important. Reply, presently, they're healthy and able to care for 2 young kids. But they're in the mid-late 60s. In 10 years, when the youngest graduates high school, they'll be pushing 80. I don't think their age prohibits them from being able to raise the girls, but obviously increasing age means increasing chances of illness, death, or other medical problems. There are many grandparents their age out there raising kids and I don't mean to disparage of them. But I also think about things from the girls' perspective. Can't they have some normalcy? Their dad is dead, their mom is an addict who's currently in prison. Can't they have a parent who is around the same age as all of their friends' parents? Who has a much lower chance of getting sick or dying within the next 10 to 15 years. Their grandparents can still be their grandparents. Not to mention they see my home as their home. This is the home where we all lived in together as a family. Their bedrooms are here, their backyard, their dog. Their dad died and almost every other aspect of their lives has also changed or been taken away. He did take them with him when he moved in with his parents last summer. I tried to get him to leave them here with me, but he said they were his kids and he was taking them with him. He moved in with his parents because he had relapsed and eventually I said I couldn't live with him anymore. I didn't want the girls to be living with him either, but I had no legal say over that. They still spent time at home with me though, and most of their stuff remained here at home. Stories number 13. We're not the insane people in this situation, right? Wedding was yesterday, everything went amazingly considering it was put together in 2 months. Everyone seemed to have a great time and including us, until last night while we're at the hotel, exhausted, my, now, wife gets this text from her dad's girlfriend, basically stepmom. Hey beautiful wedding. I feel sorta slighted I don't have to be in your family. I understand really. I'm out from here on. Love you, enjoy, it was clear. It's okay. The pictures were obvious. Backstory. After the ceremony, we did our portraits and then family pictures. The first big family group was my wife's siblings and their kids, plus her parents who are divorced, and her mom and the dad's GF do not get along, plus a family friend who is essentially a member of the family. After that group we did pictures with my wife's dad and his GF, because she has been like a second mother to her and is very close and we wanted to include her. Then we did my immediate family ones which went off without a hitch, and that was it. Not any with cousins or aunts and uncles, other extended family that were there. Apparently my wife's stepmom felt slighted she wasn't in the first picture with the woman she hates. We did end up seating them at the same table, away from each other, just because they are both very important to my wife and we wanted them to be at her family's table, but thought separating them for the pictures was a good compromise so they could each have their own special pictures. How wild is it that A, she reacted this way and B, she sent that text on our literal wedding night. The icing on the cake is she also sent this in a Facebook group chat a lot of us are in, sorry leaving chat, not considered family. You guys have fun, red heart, and then left that group. Edit. My wife is also 13 weeks pregnant and still getting over long COVID, so by the end of the day was beyond exhausted, and the fact that we even got through the entire day was a minor miracle. Second edit. Dad's GF has been in the picture for about 6 years, so, second mom, doesn't mean she helped raise her, it's more she's look at her as a second mom figure in her life in adulthood. I'm kind of surprised people are so split on this, but also family is very tricky and people have strong opinions based very much on their own experiences. I can definitely admit we could have done things differently, but we did what we thought was best in the moment given how everyone had been acting recently. Birth mom and stepmom played nice at the bridal shower, but then in between then and wedding lots of nasty things were said by both to us about each other, and we really didn't know what to do with them. Anyway, we're both exhausted today, and not on our honeymoon, so that's why I'm spending time here trying to sort this out, lol. I do think the relationship is reparable, assuming both parties want it to be, but we all need to rest and cool off. Final. Edit. The family friend mentioned has been a part of the family's life for 30 plus years and my wife considers her a sister. She would literally do anything for any of them and has been a big part of helping with my wife's niece, her late sister's daughter, after said sister passed 9 years ago. That's why she was included. Stories number 14. AITA for moving out of my parents' house and skipping a family reunion because my parents keep including my sister's best friend. I'm 17, my sister, Lana, is 15 and her best friend, Meg, is 15. Lana and Meg have been BFFs forever and Meg was always over at our house. It was never a big deal before. I knew she had a crush on me years ago but I always expected it to go away and I never encouraged it. I came out when I was 13 too, so I figured Meg would realize she never stood a chance. I thought at least Lana would help her try to focus on someone else. But Meg's crush either came back or became fully realized a year ago and she has been so over the top flirting with me and being inappropriate. I spoke to Lana, I spoke to my parents and I even tried speaking to Meg. My parents told me she's a kid and it's a harmless crush. They dismissed the real concerns I had about how far Meg was willing to go. They told me it's normal for kids to go a little crazy over a crush. Especially when their crush is so present in their lives. When I told them it made me uncomfortable, they said Meg is a part of the family and she's Lana's BFF and she'll always be welcome. I have found Meg in my room going through my stuff. She stole stuff out of my closet, she slept in my bed when I wasn't home one night and she even came to me in the middle of the night when she was sleeping over saying she got scared and wanting to climb into my bed. We have a pool in our yard and Meg has tried to slip off her bikini top in front of me before. She's tried touching me in ways I don't like and don't feel comfortable with. It got so bad that I stopped spending time outside last summer because I was freaking out that she might strip in front of me and try to do something and could get one or both of us hurt if I moved away too fast. I had to start locking my bedroom door but she'd still try to get in. She'd always insist on sitting next to me at lunch or dinner and if she was included in a family movie night she'd try to cuddle up to me. I avoided the couch for that reason, but even one of the chairs she'd either sit on the arm or even suggest sitting on my lap or she'd take the floor next to me. Nobody would ever tell her to stop except for me and nobody had my back. She was like that in school too and I got some help there. A couple of teachers stepped in and told her she couldn't harass me. One time she tried following me into the boys' bathrooms and she got into big trouble for it. My parents and Lana were upset I got Meg into trouble over that. When they found out I was telling teachers everything they acted like I was overreacting and being super harsh on poor Meg. It was after that I called my grandparents and told them what was happening, and they said I could move in with them. Since I was 17 and I knew my parents would resist, I just didn't tell them. They were angry and tried very hard to make me move back in. They gave up when I told them to fuck off, in not those exact words, but I did curse. Meg and Lana tried to visit my grandparents' house since I moved in. My grandparents stopped them at the door, and they have told Lana she can visit them if she wants, but Meg is not welcome. Last weekend my wider family had a family reunion at the lake house they all share. Meg was invited to keep Lana company, and when my grandparents and I heard that we all skipped the reunion, I told them they could go, but they said someone needed to stand in my corner and they were the ones to do it. When we didn't show up, my parents' anger got worse and they accused me of taking this too far again, and they said I was acting like a scared kid. They told me to get over it. That Meg's only a kid. That I moved out of my house and avoided my family over a 15-year-old girl with a crush. I asked what would happen if I had to physically push Meg off of me sometime. What if she got hurt physically because I avoided her? They told me I don't need to get physical to stop her and I'm being overdramatic. They told me if I brought a date there'd be no issue. But I tried that. A friend came along as a fake boyfriend to a party before I moved out, and Meg was still flirting and trying to touch me. My grandparents have told my parents repeatedly since I moved in that they're disgusted with the fact they let things get so bad. They wanted my parents to know they blamed them completely and feel they should have done a better job protecting me. At one point they even told my parents they didn't deserve the title because they were failing. Stories number 15. AITA for not spending time with my sister's family because of her husband's views on my trans daughter. December 1st, 2024. So, I, 34F, have a preteen daughter, 11F, who is a trans girl. She hasn't started puberty blockers yet, but she's already made a lot of changes, wearing dresses, growing out her hair, and speaking in a more feminine voice. She's thriving, and I'm so proud of her for being herself. However, things have gotten pretty complicated with my sister, Sarah's, family, and I'm wondering if I'm in the wrong for how I've been handling things. Sarah has always been more than just a sister to me. Growing up, we didn't have a dad, and our mom struggled with addiction. Sarah basically raised me, and when I had my daughter, she was always there for us. After our mom got sober, she's been clean for 10 years now, she rejoined the family, but Sarah's been like a second mom to me and my daughter. That's why this situation is so hard for me, and I really don't want to cause any rifts. Sarah's husband, Tim, is very conservative, and while I've never heard him directly say anything hateful about my daughter or trans people, I overheard him once, thinking I was in another room, saying that trans people don't exist, and that my daughter should dress like a boy until she's 18. That moment really stuck with me, but I didn't confront him about it because I was so shocked. A while back, my daughter and I went to a family dinner at Sarah's. Everything was fine until my nephew, Sarah's son, 12, said something that really hurt my daughter. He told her she wasn't a girl and that she had male genitalia because God gave it to her. This was devastating for my daughter, and we had to leave early because she was crying. I didn't want to make a scene, but I could tell my daughter was crushed. The next day, I met with Sarah for coffee and told her what happened. She was incredibly apologetic and promised that it would never happen again. She assured me that Tim didn't share those views, and that she was unaware he was transphobic until my daughter's transition started. I appreciated her trying to be supportive, but when we went back for the next family dinner, things took a turn. During dinner, we all held hands to pray, and when it came time for my daughter to join in, my nephew refused to hold her hand. He called her a gross tranny. I didn't hear this directly, but my daughter came to me afterward, upset and crying. My nephew seemed confused and didn't say anything when I asked him about it, but I trust my daughter. She's not the type to lie about something like that, she just wants to be accepted. Sarah claims my nephew didn't say anything, but I'm not sure what to think. I know she doesn't share Tim's views, but at the same time, I can't ignore the possibility that Tim's influence is seeping into the kids, even if it's not being said outright. Since then, I've been avoiding family gatherings because I just don't feel it's a safe environment for my daughter. I don't want her to go through more hurtful moments like this. I don't want to cause a rift with Sarah. She's been such a huge part of my life and my daughter's life, and the thought of breaking up our family over this is devastating. But at the same time, I have to protect my daughter and make sure she feels accepted and loved. So, AITA for not spending time with Sarah's family. I feel like I'm doing what's best for my daughter, but I don't want to damage the relationship with my sister either. AITA update: not spending time with my sister's family because of her husband's views on my trans daughter, December 5, 2024. Apologies for not responding sooner to comments. The attention this post received was overwhelming, and I needed some time to process it all. First, I want to address the trolls. I get the urge to respond to them, but let's be real, these people are just attention-seeking bullies. Our responses only fuel their negativity and give them the platform they crave. Please don't waste your energy on them. To those who messaged me individually, asking questions about trans people and their experiences, while I can tell some of you are genuinely curious, I can't help but suspect that for others, it's a way to project more transphobia under the guise of understanding. If you're genuinely interested in learning, there are countless resources available online that can give you a far deeper, more articulate understanding of the trans experience than I can. I know this firsthand from helping my own daughter, and I encourage you to explore those resources. Now, on to the update. I knew that I'd have to talk to my sister eventually, but I really appreciate all the advice and support that came through in the comments. It was invaluable. I had a one-on-one conversation with my sister, where I explained that her family was not providing a safe space for my daughter. I told her that I loved her and wanted to maintain our relationship, but that I couldn't continue to be in contact unless there were significant changes. She was understandably upset and defensive, particularly of her son. She fixated on the dinner incident, while I tried to explain that it wasn't just about that one event. There were other instances, like my nephew asking my daughter why she didn't want to go to heaven or asking me if she was mentally ill. Sarah, my sister, was there for both of those moments, so I was shocked she hadn't seen the pattern herself. Yesterday, my sister reached out and asked if we could meet with her and Tim. She apologized for not listening earlier and said she wanted to find a solution. I agreed, and they came over after work. We sent our daughter to the neighbors. She didn't need to be part of that conversation. When they arrived, they were surprised that our daughter wasn't there. I told them that the conversation could be harmful to her, even if they didn't understand why. Tim was visibly upset, but I asked them if they were really ready for this conversation, and they both said they were. The conversation itself was difficult, to say the least. Tim did most of the talking. I brought up a comment I had overheard him say, that my daughter should just be a boy until she's 18. He asked me why my daughter couldn't just be normal until she was old enough to make her own decisions. I asked if he had ever done any research about trans youth to genuinely understand what my daughter is going through. He said he had all the information he needed and started going off on a diatribe about puberty blockers, which, by the way, my daughter isn't even on. I told him that we were taking her transition seriously, that she goes to therapy every other week and is involved in a local queer support group where she can talk to other trans girls and women about their experiences. Tim's response was that they were the blind leading the blind. At that point, my husband, who is usually calm and collected, was so upset that he yelled at them to leave. We'd never seen him like that before, and I think that made them realize how serious the situation was. They scurried out pretty quickly after that. This morning, my sister called, crying and apologizing profusely. She was disgusted by Tim's behavior and asked me what she should do. I told her that I didn't know, but I was certain that our families couldn't spend time together until something changed. I'm especially let down because, for a moment, the meeting gave me hope. But Tim completely shattered that hope. He didn't even try. He went off on so many horrible things, not just transphobic, but also sexist and homophobic. It was hard to follow because he just veered from one hateful rant to another. It's difficult to imagine that someone with that mindset has the capacity to grow or change. While that conversation was deeply painful, I'm also grateful it was so clear. It's never been more obvious what needs to happen, and I don't feel any guilt about it anymore. Thank you to everyone who gave advice, support, and validation. Your words helped me clear up the fog of what-ifs that was clouding my judgment and gave me the confidence to move forward. I appreciate every single one of you who supported my family. Thank you. Stories number 16. Wibta if I don't give my late BF's house to his parents. My BF, 30M, RIP, and I, 33M, were together for 15 years. I was his senior in high school, and we stayed together until a few months ago when he passed away due bone cancer. I live in a traditional country where same-sex marriage is no legal but is not a big issue socially. His parents kicked him out when he came out as gay at 17, my family took him in, helped him to finish HS and were supportive the most they could. I work in HR and he worked in IT. Since he started to work he made good money. He saved enough to purchase a house 10 years ago, he was paying the mortgage all by himself. 4 years ago he got the diagnosis. He reduced his working hours to take care of his health and I stepped in to pay the mortgage. It was a hard battle, but cancer took him back in March. After he passed away, his family appeared in the picture, saying how they regretted not being in his son's life and stuff. Time went by and a month ago they reached out to me asking me when they can expect I could give them the keys of the house. Since same-sex marriage is no legal, they could claim the house as their family. I told them that the house was in my name, I bought it from him a year into the cancer, so it was legally mine and I had been paying the mortgage way before it. They got upset and said I was being unreasonable, that it should be legally theirs, that my BF would have wanted to give them the house, which is in fact true. My BF talked a lot how he would give everything to them if that would fix the relationship between them. Actually, he bought the house as a way to bring them live with him so they would no longer rent. He also tried to make amends with them all this time, unsuccessfully. I told them that I would give them the house for the price I bought it from my BF and they would have to pay me back these 4 years of mortgage plus take the debt over their name. They said they didn't have the money and that it was so selfish of me to tell them that, knowing what my BF would have wanted. They proposed just to change the debt onto their name and give me no money in return. I declined. They got mad and the discussion got heated to the point they told me they would bring me to court accusing me of scamming my BF to have the house. They can't. They have been calling and texting me non-stop for the past month, telling me I would be an asshole to my BF if I don't give them the house. I know they can't pay me back all the money I put in the house, but I'm conflicted right now. Some friends told me that I should give them the house and move on with my life, but it just doesn't feel right to me. I'm leaning more on to not giving them the house, but I know my BF would jump the bed and give it to them. Right now their words feels empty and as if they just want to take advantage of the situation. I don't need the house, to be honest, but don't want to give them either. We never talked with my BF what should I do with the house after his death, so whipped if I don't give them the house. ETA, thank you all for your kind words. I cried a lot with most of the comments. Sorry if I can't keep the pace and reply to everyone, just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Edit 2, August 11th, 2024, next day. ETA 2, this blown up in ways I didn't even think about. Thank you all for your kind words. Just to add some info that looks like is needed for some of you, I live in a country in Central America, for safety reason will not give the name. Here is not illegal being LGBTQ+, but same-sex marriage is just not legal, nothing more. We didn't live in the house, we lived at my apartment, that's why I don't need the house, but I just don't feel right to giving it to his parents. Also, almost all his money went to pay medical bills, he didn't want me to put my money on it, which obviously I would have, and buying the house was the best idea we came out with to satisfy the both of us. The house is not a big one, 6 MTS x 10 MTS, and also is in the suburbs, is not worth the same as in other countries, around $90,000 or a little more. He was such a kind heart, so I'm pretty sure that even if it was a lie, he would have given them the house the moment they acknowledge him as gay and tell him they loved him. That's the reason why I'm having a hard time considering this. I can't answer all your comments, but I'm trying to read you all. Thank you for your support. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter, Nta. Ignore them. Prepare a lawyer just in case. The house is legally yours. They're vultures. They didn't lift a finger during his cancer diagnosis. Reply, thanks, legally they can do shit. I bought the house under the law's process, and they can't sue me for an inch. He used almost all his money to pay his medical bills. I told them they could claim the remaining money if they want. I'm not touching a cent of my BF's account, although, I can since I'm his beneficiary in the account and insurance. Top commenter, my BF talked a lot how he would give everything to them if that would fix the relationship between them. NTA. He would have given them the house in his life because he missed them that much. They refused to have anything to do with him, even when he was dying. If you give them the house now, then they benefit from him even though they rejected him when alive. You keep the house, because you're the one who loved your boyfriend. You owe his terrible family, who kicked him out at 17, nothing. Reply, that's reasonable. Thank you. Commenter, NTA you don't find it at all suspicious that they didn't come around until after he died? I don't believe they regret anything, they just want his assets. I also don't believe your boyfriend would have wanted you to give them the house. While he was alive, he would have done that to mend the relationship. But now there is no opportunity to mend the relationship. Reply, actually, we always joked about how he would have a hard time if his parents asked him to break up with me in order to win their love back. He really was desperate for their love and I know he would be conflicted too. I did find suspicious why they appeared until his death, that's why I don't find their words honest and what is keeping me from giving them the house. I don't need it, thankfully I also have an apartment that I bought with my own money, but the house means a lot to us, forgive it to them. Commenter, you did talk about what would happen to the house after he died when you bought the house from him and it went into your name after the cancer diagnosis. You may not realize it but that was him making sure you would be okay. Reply, we decided I had to bought the house so I could rearrange the mortgage and pay a lesser amount since I would have 2 properties in a single mortgage. I would have changed it back to him when the debt were cut a half. We trusted each other deeply, so we never thought a lot on this kind of stuff. If things were reversed, I wouldn't be thinking about whose name is on the mortgage either. Thank you for your words. Commenter, NTA I am sorry for your loss and that you are not even afforded the dignity of being legally considered a widower. Reply, That's something nice. My parents also told me that, even if it's not on paper, you should feel proud that you have a marriage that lasted longer than most nowadays marriages. Commenter, info, you were 18 and BF was 15 when you started dating? He moved out of his house at 17, dating you for 2 years already, and you were 20 at that time, right? Sorry, just trying to get a full understanding of this situation before judgment. Reply, well, I was 17 when we first met at school and he was 14, we had some common friends in school and we got along easily. In my country, school dates are from January through October. Central America, he was from February, I'm from October, so I officially was 2.5 years older than him. I asked him to be my BF at his 15th birthday party, yes, 2 months after we met, he kindly rejected me, and 2 months later he was the one asking me, I accepted right away. So we spent half of school year together. I was 20 when he got kicked out. I was in college already and it was midterm for him. My family took him in so he could finish HS, they paid for the last year expenses and everything else related. I was starting to work, so I couldn't help him at all. His parents, funny thing. They are not religious, my parents are. They are atheist or agnostics, I believe, they are just homophobic persons. Did the family know about his diagnosis? We told them from the moment he got the diagnosis and they believed it was a scam to make them close again. Then, I started to reach out to them to told them how the treatment was going, and after 2 years, they believed us. They only went to see him once, and they don't appeared until his funeral. It was hard, since they were the ones who should have made the arrangements, but they didn't. I had to move earth and sky to make it happen. My BF always texted them, he really wanted their love back. He tried to see them often but they just met him at the door, and sometimes they let him in the house to talk. That's something I resent them for until today, those suckers just talked to him at the front door. Sorry, I got heated up. I think I have so much hatred in me right now and that's why I don't want to give them anything. To another commenter, that hurts a lot, you know. When he got the diagnosis he even felt a little relief because he thought his parents would be there for him and they didn't. I can recall every single night since he has 17 when he cried because of his parents. He was a neglected child that only wanted his parents to hug him or love him. I truly despise them for that. I don't think I can make a reasonable decision due to the hatred I'm carrying towards them. Commenter, no, do not give them the house. You were his partner. You paid for it and took care of him. Where were they? Do not cave. I'm a widow as well, do not make any decisions the first year. Allow yourself some time. Block the toxic. They couldn't bother when he was alive. Reply, thank you for the advice. A year sounds so long from now, but it seems is a good starting point. Could you sell the house? Reply, I can, but I don't feel like it would be right. We made plans to move on abroad after he gets 35 and live elsewhere. If I sell it right now I will feel that I just dishonored my relationship in him, would regret to sell it, to give it away, or to live in it. It's hard. Commenter, sit on the house, even if you can't bear to live in it. Rent it out to a trusted friend who doesn't know your partner's family and who is happy to have a furnished place. You can take your time going through his things over the next 6 months or a year or however long it takes. Reply, a very dear friend of mine also told me that she can pay me rent for the house if I don't need it since she need a place to stay on when she came to the city. I wasn't giving a thought about it, but you are right. It sounds a good idea, she was a friend of him too. She doesn't need to rent the house, she would come and stay with us every other day, but she wants to do that to help me grieve. Thank you. Commenter, NTA I'm confused. Is the house completely paid for now? I think if he had really wanted them to have it, he had 4 years to prepare a will. Instead, he sold it to you and allowed you to make payments. Reply, in my country you can't add or take out a name from a deed as other countries. You have to pay the deed completely, so what we usually do is to ask for a new loan, pay previous deed, keep paying current deed. When it comes to properties, you can't sell it for less than the price it stated in the audit the bank does before giving you the loan. So what we did was to run the whole process as if he was going to sell it, and I paid the minimum to sure the mortgage, included it to my current loan to the bank, and that's it. We took him off the debt, it got passed to me, and I could get a better share. Editors not OOP references this comment in his update post. Miss Saftig J, my suggestion is this, you are in mourning now and that will take some time to ease. Give yourself time. Now is not the time to make big decisions. Take a year or maybe 2, then revisit the situation. You owe these people nothing as they are the ones who shunned him and you as well. Do not let them bully you into a decision you may later regret. Only make this decision when your heart is clear. Sending you hugs. Side post. Title, Cancer Sucks. I opened this as thrown away just for a single post, but after reading the responses there and talking to my therapist, she advised me that this might help me to vent some stuffs, so sorry if this doesn't belong here. I met my BF in high school and after a few months of hanging out as a group, we got together. We stayed together until his last breath back in March, 15 years of history, ups and downs, but thanks to my parents, we always looked forward to keep together. I have been reliving all our story over and over again for the past months, you wouldn't believe how draining it is to be on that spot. When he left, I was going to be prepared but I wasn't. Nothing prepares you to being awoken in the middle of the night by the noise of nurses and doctors running here and there. His calcium levels get really high while he was sleeping, he suddenly died, doctors said he might not have felt anything before passing, so I'm really thankful for that. It has been 5 long months and things still feel unreal. But I have to work, so it's not as if I'm stuck in my grief or I can properly live it, I have to move on, for me, for him, for us. I'm planning to take a month or 2 to do all the things we used to. I'm gonna get so drunk one day that I'm gonna scream all my pain out, I'm gonna hike our favorites volcanoes and see the same sights we used to see together, but alone this time. I'm gonna say goodbye the way I should have said since he passed away, because I have all these feelings bottled up inside me and I need to bring them out. Is not what he would have wanted, nor what I want. Is not forgetting, is giving a proper farewell, because our history was so good that I couldn't even dream of to forgetting him. Is impossible and is unwanted for me. Cancer sucks, is unfair, I hate it to the guts. Update post, April 1st, 2025, almost 8 months later. Last year I posted a thing here, WIPTA if I don't give my late BF's house to his parents. First of all, thanks to all the people who replied and gave me some support, I really appreciate that. Back when I posted the story, I was in a really bad place and everything was convoluted, I can't tell you how hard it was for me to get to a decision. A lot of people told me to take some time to think about it, but I really want to thank you Ms. Saftig J. When I was logging out from Reddit back in the day, I saw their response and it lived rent-free in my head for almost a week, that helped me decide to take my time before make any decision regarding the house. So I decided to wait until I felt I was able to think clearly. It took me a few months, it was hard, his parents kept bothering me with calls and emails about the house, they even hired a lawyer to talk to me about it, but my own lawyer told them all to fuck off, they hadn't any leg to stand on if that would have gone to a judge. Back in January I finally felt able to make any decision, I told them that I was going to sell them the house for the original price my BF bought it, I would still lost some money but was the best course of action for me, and that was my last offer. They refuse it, telling that I should be a better person and let them get the house for less, they didn't even dare to call me his boyfriend, just a person, so I decided to put the house on the market. Back in February they reached out to me again, asking if my proposal was still on the table. I would have loved to tell them no but I know my BF wanted them to live there, so I told them yes but they had to decide it within a week, it wasn't necessary, they accepted right away. So I let my lawyer handle the selling, I didn't want to see them no more, I got surprise. Top comment, Levios Apatronus, I'm glad you're at peace with your decision and can move on. Best of luck to you, D. When my lawyer handled me a photo book of him as kid and preteen, looks like it was their way of trying to acknowledge their son's life. Is the only thing for what I'm grateful for to them. A few weeks ago was my BF's 1-year memorial, they didn't show up, so I can move on with my life without them bothering me no more. Thanks again for all the comments and DM, you guys are awesome. Top comment, Levios Apatronus, I'm glad you're at peace with your decision and can move on. Best of luck to you. Stories number 17. AITA for locking my room door so kids won't get inside and ruin my stuff. So basically my 19F parents decided to invite my uncles, who live together, and their families for dinner. Both my uncles have 6 kids, and 4 of each of their children are in a very close age bracket. 3F, 3F, 2F, 1.5F, 1M, 4F, 5F, 6F. Now I don't mind them coming over but the thing is these specific 8 kids do not have any manners despite 3 nannies accompanying the families wherever they go but refuse to correct the children if they are doing something damaging to the house like spilling water on the floor or breaking an ornament and instead the nannies are scrolling through their phones while the children's parents are having discussions with our family in the living room. Now I have a lot of valuable things in my room like my handwritten notes, my iPad, my phone and laptop which I do not want the kids near as I know they'll cry and ask for it and break it. Keeping them in drawers isn't viable either as the kids open drawers as well. So I simply decided to lock my room so no one can enter and everything would be safe. I told my mom and she had no problems with it. Now throughout the dinner everything went well until I saw one of aunts with a buzz of kids carrying her 2F daughter outside our room and trying to open it as she wanted to change her. She called me over and said the room wasn't opening and that we'd have to call the key master. I said the room wasn't opening as I'd locked it and she could use any other room to change her daughter if she liked. Now she didn't say anything, just looked at me a bit weirdly and went to the other room. I know she complained about it because after the dinner ended my grandmother was not happy with me and said I was disrespecting my uncle and aunts and saying they couldn't raise kids properly and being rude that they have too many kids to handle and God was the one giving them babies and we had no right to comment about their fertility, even though I said nothing like this. She said my cousins also have a right to this house and to see what's inside the room. My parents aren't angry with me and think I did the right thing, but after what my grandmother said, I'm still wondering, am I the asshole? Stories number 18. AITA for fighting with my dad over his favoritism of his stepkids and saying if he wanted me to be their brother he should have tried to be a better dad first. My parents broke up when I, 16 was really young. I lived mostly with my mom until I was 10. My dad was really inconsistent and hardly played a role in my life. My mom was another train wreck who tried to put me first, but her addiction got too bad and I had to be taken from her custody. My dad took me in, and even though I lived with him I didn't see him much or benefit from having him around me. He'd pawn me off on his brother or his parents a lot. Whenever I asked for anything he'd act like I was a whole grown-up with money to spend on myself. His parents bailed me out a lot. They didn't even know I existed until I went to live with Dad. He'd never talked about me and didn't even mention Mom to them when they were together. When I was 12 my dad moved in this woman and her 2 kids and they got married 8 months after, I think. Right after we moved in I found out she was married and her ex got arrested for trying to break into our house and threatening to kill my dad. So I found out thanks to that neat incident that he cheated. Because of the affair and stuff a DNA was requested to see if the ex or my dad were the father or her kids. Her ex is. But he doesn't see them anymore. My dad treats them like his own and he's a real dad to them. He spends time with them, teaches them stuff, he pays for what they need and what they want. He spoils them in all the ways that he can. For a while I thought maybe he'd be a better dad to me too. But he still makes no time for me, and when I ask for anything he tells me to buy it myself. Stuff I need for school or whatever fall in that category too. His parents will pick up the slack, but it sucks. It's made me bitter and it's made me avoid his wife and her kids. His wife doesn't pay attention to that. She probably doesn't care as long as Dad takes care of her kids. But now that her kids are doing more stuff they want to hang out with me and they follow me around when I fail at avoiding even seeing them. I lock them out of my room most of the time so they're not in my face, and any time they ask me to do something with them I say no. My dad got annoyed by that the other day. I got home from work and sat down to watch a movie because nobody was home. But a few minutes into the movie he got back with the kids and they came running in to watch the movie with me. I went up to my room as soon as it happened, and a few minutes after he ran up the stairs after me and with all this fucking attitude asked me why I ran upstairs when his stepkids came in. I told him I had sat down there because nobody was home and I left because they were in my space. He said they wanted to spend time with me and I told him I didn't want to spend time with them. Then I asked him where all this dad energy was when it was me. I pointed out how he couldn't give a fuck about me and left me with an addict and didn't even tell his family about me. But then he gets all up in my face because I won't spend time with his wife's kids. I pointed out all the stuff he does for them and how his brother and parents who only met me 6 years ago have done more for me than him. He told me that had nothing to do with his stepkids and that the little girl and little boy downstairs looked up to me and loved me and just wanted their brother's time. I told him if he wanted me to be their brother he should have been a better dad. I told him just because he loved them didn't mean they should get everything they wanted. I told him I'm not spending time with them. I don't want them. I don't care about them. And he can work on figuring out how to make them less sad about it, but I owe none of them anything. He argued back and the kids heard us say a lot of stuff. Including what I said about them. Dad got so guilty looking and went to apologize, but I didn't. Then he called me names for not caring about them and fighting like that with him in the first place. I spent the last couple of nights at his parents' house because of it. His wife wants me to apologize to her kids and he told me as much when he dropped some of my stuff off at his parents' house. I told him it won't happen and he called me a shithead. His parents told me it'd be okay and it'd get better. I don't know what they meant by that, but they're good to me, so I'm relieved to be here. AITA for that fight and what I said. Stories number 19. My 23F, boyfriend's, 26M, ex-girlfriend, 26F, is creating TikTok videos about me. What can I do? My boyfriend and his ex-girlfriend broke up about a year and a half ago. She has a substantial following on TikTok and frequently posts about her journey of moving on from him and her new relationship. A few months ago, she began browsing my TikTok profile and inquiring about me through mutual followers. She requested to follow me on TikTok, and I accepted her request, subsequently following her back. About a month ago, she posted a TikTok video claiming to have broken her leg and required surgery. I work in the healthcare field at our local hospital. For some reason, she believes that I provided medical care to her while she was undergoing treatment for her leg. In one of her videos, she mentions that the surgery was performed at an outpatient surgical center that I am not affiliated with. Last week, she posted 2 more TikTok videos alleging that I violated HIPAA by sharing her medical information. She claims that I took advantage of her while she was under anesthesia. She also mentioned that she reported this incident to the management of the surgical center, and they are currently investigating the matter. I am concerned about the potential consequences for my medical license. I was not involved in her care and am not employed by the surgical center. I reported the videos on TikTok, but they stated that they did not violate any community guidelines. Our mutual friends are aware of the situation and the fact that she is making the videos about me. She had previously blocked me before posting these videos. I know that I did nothing wrong, but the fact that multiple people know she's talking about me is worrisome. AITA for taking away all of my daughter's luxuries after comments that she made about me. For context, I am a single father, 34M, to a teenage daughter, 16F, and we're from Scotland. I've pretty much raised her myself ever since her mother walked on the both of us when my daughter was still a toddler. Her mother wasn't fully committed to having a child due to how young we were at the time. However, I knew that I wanted this baby girl in my life and I was determined to go through whatever hardships were thrown my way. Then the eventuality came, and her mother left us and hasn't factored into our lives ever since. Fast forward to the present day and I've developed a wonderful relationship with my daughter. She's the only person who has factored into my life for these past 16 years, and every decision that I've made for her. There has been challenges along the way, and some very difficult times. But we've always managed to get through them, and I believe that I've done a good job in the role of both her father and her mother. She's very articulate, well-behaved and polite. She is honestly the best daughter that I could have ever asked for. And we're incredibly close, too, due to it being just the two of us. She has always been what they would call a daddy's girl. All of my disposable income has always gone towards father-daughter days out together, buying her things whenever she has asked for them. Though always within reason and budget, and with conditions such as that she does well in school. Everything seemed perfect, till recently. A few weeks ago, a few of her best friends were over for the weekend. My daughter and her friends have known each other since their infant school days, early elementary school for any US Redditors. They must have assumed that I was too far out of earshot, because when my daughter's friends were talking about how envious they are of her, and how lucky she is for having a dad who loves her and will do anything for her. The words that came out of my daughter's mouth felt like swords piercing my heart. She started laughing, as she told her friends about how easy it is for her to behave like a loving daughter, so that she can get anything that she wants from me. My daughter and her friends then all laughed together and made further jokes about how easily she can manipulate me. Hearing these words coming from the mouth of the one person who I've dedicated my life to has been the hardest anguish that I've ever felt, and it feels as though she has physically ripped my heart from my chest. I have feelings of hurt, betrayal and humiliation from the one person who I never expected would put me through this. After her friends left, I sat down for dinner with my daughter and I asked her what she meant when she told her friends that she behaves like a loving daughter just so that she can get anything that she wants from me. In that instant I saw the look in her face that reminded me of a deer in headlights. She initially didn't know what to say. But after a few moments, the look on her face turned to one of ashamed as she tried to apologize and tell me that she didn't mean any of the words that she said. I don't believe that she is sorry or ashamed for her manipulation and lack of respect. I feel that she's only sorry about being caught. As punishment, I have taken away the luxuries that I have been spending on her, such as subscription services to Netflix, Crunchyroll, etc. I've replaced her contract phone with a simple phone that is pay as you go, so that she can still contact people in an emergency, and I've also canceled bookings for upcoming father-daughter days that I had planned with her, barring the basic necessities that I need to provide for her as her father, such as food, clothing, a roof over her head, money for transportation to school and money for school supplies. My daughter feels that I am being incredibly unfair towards her and she has told me that this will permanently damage our relationship together. Which of course I do fear it could cause an irreparable damage to our relationship and that I will ultimately lose the one remaining person that I have left. However, I feel as though this is a fair punishment. She has taken advantage of my love for her and manipulated me to get everything that she wants, whilst also disrespecting me by laughing about how easy I am for getting everything that she wants. All of her past behavior and words of love towards me now all just feels like a bunch of lies so that she could get anything that she wants. She has cried, telling me that she genuinely does love me and that she appreciates everything that she has done for me. But I am not so sure which words are the true. Those cries, as she tells me that she loves me, or that laughter, whilst telling her friends how easy I am to manipulate. I do apologize for what seems to be a rambling. And I promise that this isn't AI created, nor for karma farming. I am just looking for words and opinions from those out of my immediate circle. Because this entire ordeal has scrambled my entire head and has left my heart torn in two by the one person who I never thought would break it. Because I genuinely want to believe that she loves me and that she was just being an immature teenager. But I also don't want to be naive to the idea that perhaps these are my daughter's true and honest feelings towards me, and that I've been nothing but a bank of free money for her. And whilst I will always love her, because she's my daughter and that love is unconditional, I feel as though things won't ever go back to being how they once were. Because there will always be that doubt now on whether her love for me is genuine. Thank you for listening to this incredibly long rant. It is slightly healing getting all of this off of my chest, tbh. Edit, update. Thank you to everyone so far for your responses, I do appreciate all of them, and that includes both the NTA and YTA responses. I feel that both are needed to try and help me get my head around this entire situation. I will try and respond to as many replies as I can, but I do appreciate everyone who has taken time out of their day to post their own thoughts on the matter. Just a few clarifications and minor bits of information that I left out in my original post. Whilst she certainly did say at first that my punishments would damage our relationship long term, she has since backtracked on that and has apologized, saying that she honestly didn't mean that and that she only said it out of anger at the time. She does seem to be genuinely upset and deeply regrets saying that. She's also up for counseling so that we can come to an understanding, and my best friend, and my daughter's godmother, has offered to mediate between the both of us. Because we all want to get this sorted, and I genuinely want to believe what my daughter is saying is true, and that she regrets saying something that she didn't mean. But I still feel that it will take a while to heal those wounds caused by her words. Once again, thank you everyone for taking your time to respond to something that has really been wrecking my mind. She has a long history of mental illness, including schizoaffective disorder, bipolar disorder, anxiety, and depression. Despite this, she still reaches out to my boyfriend because they had pets together, and she can't afford their vet bills. Stories number 20. AITA for telling my BF I no longer want him there for the birth. So I, 28F, and my BF, 36M, are expecting twin boys that could come any day or on our scheduled C-section. This is going to be a long one, but let me start from the beginning. So I found out I was pregnant a month after my little brother committed suicide, so I was emotionally in a blender of emotions. Early on I was very depressed and angry at the world, and I was not nice to my BF at all. I honestly was really mean to him, and no, it's not an excuse that my hormones and emotions were all crazy, but I started counseling to sort myself out and stop hurting the man I love because I was hurting. So that's part of it, and I'm still in counseling. I would also from time to time bring up the pregnancy about little updates or how I was feeling, as this is the first and only time I've been pregnant with twins. Some context: he has 2 children from his previous marriage and I have 2 children from my previous relationship, and we are now having twins together. So I thought he would be excited with me or more involved, but would kind of blow me off and make comments of, "This isn't my first rodeo," or compare me to his ex-wife. And this would hurt because we had 2 previous miscarriages, and I thought this pregnancy was special because they are twins. To me, my brother gave me back the babies I lost. He didn't really go to appointments with me, he has been to 2 the entire pregnancy, and now that we are at the end he doesn't seem to understand that I could go into labor at any time and how serious a C-section is. During all of this there has also been a situation going on in his ex-wife's home that has had a negative effect on his kids. This situation has been ongoing for over a year now and has only gotten worse. I've tried to give him advice or encourage him to do something about it, but he's done nothing but talk to his ex-wife and wait for her to do something about it, but she hasn't done anything at all. Because of this I helped him get his car back on the road and would drive the 5 hours there and back to pick up his kids while pregnant, and also drive the 5 hours to drop them off so he could spend more time with them and so they could get away from their house for a weekend. But me and my BF have gotten into many arguments lately because he claims I'm jealous of his kids, or I'm mad he has a schedule with them, or whatever else he wants to say to me, because I told him that now we are at the point in my pregnancy where anything could happen. We might not be able to go get his kids unless she can meet us halfway, because I'm not driving 2.5 hours away from my hospital, and if he does he could miss the birth, and because I'm having a C-section I'm terrified. Honestly, and want him there with me. So I'm selfish for that. And just this past week, we had a little date night because I was trying to do something nice and maybe mend us a little, and he brought up the topic of the babies' names. We had 2 names picked out originally and I sat on them, but the one name I felt like wasn't a good fit, and we had a talk about it and changed it, and that's what we kept up until this talk. He said he wanted to go back to the original set of names and that he didn't care how anyone felt about it, my family, and they can mind their own business, so I agreed because I did like the name. All 3 names were something I liked. Come to find out the conversation was initiated because of a conversation he had with his ex-wife. We were set on the 2 names for months until their conversation, in which she thought the names were so stupid and went on to say how stupid they were and how the name he picked was better, and he just said, "It's what she wanted, I just work here." So this brings us to where I told him I no longer want him there and I'm changing their names completely and he no longer gets a say. Sorry for the long post. Anyways, so I asked him that she is the reason he's now bringing this up days or weeks before our babies are here after we already had the names set for months. I was already in the hospital once for false labor. He tries to tell me no, it's the name he wanted, so that's why, but he hasn't said anything before their conversation other than when we spoke about changing it to the other name. He's convinced I changed it because my family bullied me into it, but that's not why. I was just afraid he would get picked on and I wasted to use the name we previously picked for one of the babies we lost. He also doesn't see why I'm hurt and upset, just that I'm irrational and pissed off because his ex-wife was involved. She shouldn't have any say in what we name our babies, just like my family and anyone else. He allowed her to disrespect me and my unborn children is how I feel about it, and it's not the first time he's let her disrespect me, and he's even put me down to make her feel better about herself in the past because he was mad at me. So I'm just kind of fed up with everything. So Ida and being petty and irrational. Stories number 21. AITA for telling my lifelong best friend to EF off after making out with and groping my husband. AITA, I, 59F, have been married to my husband, 51M, let's call him Tom, for 14 years. I have been best friends with, let's call her Amber, 59F, for more than 50 years, and her current husband, who I will call Frank, 59M, for about 30 years. I do not know him well. For context, we grew up doing absolutely everything together, including family vacations. As young adults, life, marriage and kids happened, and we only sporadically got to get together. Once kids were gone, we began hanging out more and more, and our relationship was like no time had passed. We typically hung out without husbands and at my house since mine is always gone, but periodically we all four got together. The incident took place last summer when we got together with her and her husband at our house. My husband Tom was manning the grill, which was out by another structure and not close to the house. Everyone was having cocktails, sitting in lawn chairs, laughing, talking and having a really fun time. I had way less to drink than anyone else as I had been running back and forth to the house prepping food, running items to and from the grill, and just getting things prepped to eat when the food was done. Tom, Frank and Amber all stayed out by the grill listening to music and talking while the grill was running. I joined between going back and forth. I'm not sure how much they drank, but they could still walk and talk, so it's not like anyone was passing out when SHTF. My final trip to the house was to carry a large platter containing all the food from the grill to the house so plates could be made. I walked out my door to go get everyone when I hear Frank screaming and cursing at the top of his lungs. I'm like, WTH. I go running toward the voice and find Amber bawling, Frank in a rage literally saying "Oh hell no, oh EF no," and I immediately begin asking what happened. What's wrong? He's throwing their stuff in their car, and I had a very difficult time getting him to even stop to tell me what happened. Apparently as soon as I walked away with the food, Amber, who was sitting in a lawn chair by Tom, and Tom my effing husband began furiously making out and groping one another, including hands down pants. Well, Frank wasn't that far away, and then he caught them. Honestly, if I wish I had caught them myself or not, because with Frank, no one got their ass beat. And if it had been me, there would have been ass beating until someone physically made me stop, and yes, I do mean that. Now, my husband Tom drinks too much. So I'm sure this was no different, and because of this, I automatically blamed him for what happened. I mean, I wasn't thrilled with her, and don't ask me now why, but I gave her the benefit of the doubt. I forced Tom to apologize a few days later, and we moved on. Or so I thought. Fast forward about 6 months later, and I went through Tom's phone because things had been so bad, and I suspected he was cheating or had cheated. Not with Amber, as I had found where he had been going to another house months on end, roughly the same time of day each time he went. That's really another entire story. When I was going through his phone, I found correspondence between him and Amber talking about me. And not in a flattering way. Basically insinuating how stupid I was for a purchase I had made, with my own money, that Amber thought was cool and supported to my face, and other similar things, putting me down and telling him how she was there for him anytime, blah blah blah. No idea if they got together for any talks or not. I was so shocked and hurt, I was dumbfounded. I sat on it for a few days because of how hurt I was, and the more I thought the more I saw red. And I made the decision to send her all the screenshots I had taken of everything that was said about me so she couldn't deny it, and I sent them to her along with what I had to say to her. Also, for context, I should say that Amber and Frank struggle financially in the last few years. Any time she asked, I loaned her money, provided food, gas, their cigarettes. I don't even smoke, anything I could do to help them. By loaned I mean no one ever paid me back. Come to think of it, my food containers weren't returned either for the items I had prepared. I sent tons of canned goods too. So I told her how I had done nothing but help them as much as I could, and how sick it made me and how hurt I was by her not only talking bad about me, but saying those things to my husband, and she basically really called me stupid and told my husband how wrong I was for making that purchase and how she knew I way overspent for that item, etc. And the more I typed the matter I got, and all at once it hit me like a crack upside my head. Yep, here's your sign. She wasn't the victim in that tongue down throat hands in pants groping session with my husband, she was an equal participant. I obviously can't prove this because again, I didn't see it or catch them, but I just suddenly felt it so strongly after seeing how they talked about me. So I told her to foo *** write OFF out of my life for good and never come back, and that I was effing done with them. Except I used all the bad words, and I used them a lot. So. AITH for telling my lifelong BFF face vomiting to EFF OFF, among other things, or should I have given her a chance to explain? Also, you should know that she never has tried, and it's now April. I've never heard from them again. My marriage was never problem-free anyway, mostly because of his drinking. I've had a lawyer retained for a while now, but haven't filed. If anyone has any advice, I would love to hear it. This, to me, was the absolute ultimate betrayal by the two people I never in a million years would have believed would do this to me together. Stories number 22. Pregnant unexpectedly and my boyfriend, 27M, is pushing hard for me to terminate it. I, 24F, told him I might leave and raise the baby on my own. How do I move forward from this? I, 24F, just found out I'm pregnant. It was completely unplanned. I've been with my boyfriend, 27M, for almost 2 years, and until now I genuinely thought we were solid. We've been living together for the past year, but now I'm not even sure where we stand. The moment I told him I was pregnant, he immediately said, "We're not ready," and started pushing me to end it. I told him I needed time to process everything, but he just wouldn't let me. It became this constant pressure from him, and even his mom started saying things like, "Don't ruin our lives," and, "He's not going to be a dad." Then he straight up told me, "I'll support you through the procedure, but if you decide to keep it, I'm out. You won't see me around. I don't have a job right now. I've been trying to rebuild after a really tough few months and was staying with him." Then he said I was trapping him, and that completely shattered me. That's not who I am. I never planned this or tried to force anything on him, so I snapped and I told him if he can walk away that easily, then maybe I should raise this baby on my own. I said I'd find someone who actually wants to be a family, someone who doesn't see a child as a burden. I said if he couldn't step up, then I'd figure it out without him. He accused me of being manipulative and said I don't understand what he's going through. But like my body is the one going through this. I'm scared too. I didn't ask for any of this, but I'm trying to be strong and think clearly right. Now I'm crashing at a friend's place and trying to figure out if I made the right call by standing my ground or if I just blew everything up. I don't even know what I want from this post. Support or advice? Maybe just someone to tell me I'm not losing my mind. Has anyone been in a similar situation? How do you move forward when you feel abandoned and pressured? Stories number 23. AITA for refusing to babysit my stepbrother during my dad's funeral. I, 18F, lost my dad 3 weeks ago. He was my best friend, my safe place, and honestly the only parent who really got me. My mom and I are strained, and she divorced him when I was 10. He remarried when I was 13, and his wife, Stacy, 40SF, came with her own son, Adam, 9M now. To be real, I never bonded with them. Stacy always treated me like a guest in my own dad's house, and Adam was a spoiled little tornado. My dad tried to make it work, but I mostly avoided going over once I hit 16. We were closer one-on-one anyway. Fast forward to the funeral. I was wrecked. I'd spent the night before writing a eulogy and crying my eyes out. I was trying to hold it together in black heels and waterproof mascara. Then Stacy pulls me aside literally 15 minutes before the service starts and says, "Hey, could you just keep an eye on Adam? He's having a hard time and I want to be able to focus on greeting people." I thought she was joking. But no. She wanted me, the daughter of the dead man, to babysit her son so she could socialize like it was some brunch event. I said no. Politely at first. Then more firmly when she pushed. She got huffy and whispered, "You know, you're not the only one who lost someone." I snapped. I said, "You lost a husband of 5 years. I lost the man who raised me my entire life. You do the math." She gasped like I slapped her and stormed off. Later, at the reception, she told my mom and other relatives what I said, and now half the family is calling me selfish and immature. My aunt even said I traumatized Adam because apparently he overheard us and cried that I feel bad for the kid. I do. But I was grieving too. I didn't think it was my job to parent her child when I was barely keeping it together myself. Stories number 24. I should have listened to my husband. My husband made it clear he did not want my mom in the labor delivery room, and I went against it and convinced him to still let her in. Feeling bad and all since this is her first grandchild. I should have listened. I pushed for 3 hours with a sunny side-up baby and she wasn't coming. Mom complained it was taking too long. Kept commenting that it's been hours. It's too long. Midwife, RN, doctor is noticeably annoyed at the comments and I'm embarrassed. I apologized for taking so long and they reassured me it's okay. I pulled a muscle in my back while pushing, which made it hard to continue. She would not help pull me up even when the midwife asked multiple times to relieve the tension and walked away multiple times. One time she tapped my shoulder to help out while everyone was helping me and she just left. I declared I wanted a C-section. After bouts of pain and crying I finally relented and requested a C-section. She goes, "Don't you want to push more?" I screamed, "No fuck," loudly, and the midwife stepped in and ushered her away. I unfortunately had the shakes during my C-section and after, and it was so bad. Bit my tongue roughly 3 times and had to bite on a couple of soft cloths to stop it. Couldn't hold my own baby. I get wheeled into my recovery room and my husband is there and he has our daughter. He swaps with mom thinking she will want to see me and see if I'm okay. She springs into action and picks my daughter up and spends time with her. Before I could. Naturally I'm upset, but I'm so drugged up and shaking so badly it what to do. I cried when my husband came back about not being able to hold my own child first, and he apologized as he did think she would have the common sense to wait for me and thought she just wanted to check on me. I've been in the hospital for a couple of days now and it's just settling with me what happened because I have to go home where we rent an apartment with her for another 4 months and just not say anything. She'll never be at any of my other births. Stories number 25. AITA for no longer wanting to give a house to my sister. My portion of inheritance. A few years ago our mom passed away unexpectedly and she didn't have a will, so splitting the assets has been more of a headache than any of us anticipated. Most of us, multiple siblings involved, are of a mind that we need to prioritize relationships with each other because we understand long-term damage that feuding over material things upon someone's death can bring to families. Our mom loved her house and spent her time turning it into a dream home before her death. Some didn't want it sold off. It was then proposed that one of our sisters who has young children be given the house because she was looking at travel trailers for housing and it would be a long-term, affordable and stable home. At this time, sale of the house to her and her husband wasn't an option because they couldn't get approved for a loan. They were told that they needed to prepare themselves to get a loan for the house in case the loan wasn't assumable, and unfortunately they didn't do that, so to this day they still wouldn't qualify to buy it. We agreed on a nice idea to each give the gift of our own inheritance with an unspoken understanding that they'd plan on staying there long-term. While we figured out the legal stuff, they move in and pay the mortgage until things are made official. Unfortunately, shortly after moving in, our sister's husband would tell friends and his family that his plan is to sell the house within the next 2 years or rent it out and move. This understandably caused upset because it felt like he was looking at opportunity to profit, not long-term stability. We proposed a stipulation stating that they'd have to reside in the home for 5 years before it would be transferred solely to them as proof that they are serious about making it into their home, but her husband got really upset and wouldn't hear us out. We asked our sister what their plan was and she said it depended on her husband's work situation, that moving wasn't off the table or fully on it, but she felt 2 years was long enough to consider it long-term. With all of this coming to light, a few of the siblings no longer wanted to sign because they didn't feel it would be fair to end up with none of the equity on a short-term living situation. We sought acknowledgement that he understood this was a huge gift and sacrifice of our inheritances, hoping he would show some gratitude so we could feel good about signing and move on, but he was not receptive. He feels because he's done some work on the house and has paid the mortgage that it is his. It no longer feels wise to hand over my portion heedlessly, not because of the money, the morality, and the ethics of it all. With the new information about their plans to possibly sell the property after only a short time, the sense of entitlement and the lack of acknowledgement for how big of a gift this really is, AITH for no longer wanting to give away my portion of inheritance. Stories number 26. Me 27F and my boyfriend 28M moved in together 6 months ago and have been saving up to buy a house. My boyfriend told me that he's wanting his parents to move in with us in a year and a half when we buy a house. To give some context, my boyfriend and I moved in together in December 2024. He had some difficulty moving out of his parents' house and into an apartment with me and felt very guilty leaving his parents behind. For the most part, we've enjoyed living together and he's told me that he likes living alone with me. Our plan was to rent for 2 years and save money so we could get engaged at the end of the 2 years and buy a house. Last night, he told me that his mom is showing early signs of dementia, but has not gone to a doctor to be diagnosed. He says that they are just noticing her forgetting things and that his parents are very lonely living together. To give context, they are Hispanic immigrants from Cuba and have had a hard time with him moving in with me. He told me that he feels it is his responsibility to have his parents live with us. He blankly told me that his parents would be moving in with us to our new house once our lease was up, and that if I was not okay with that, then I could leave. He said that he is giving me the option to leave rather than stay with him because he would like to give me the ability to make my own decision about what I would want. I'm not really sure how to even feel about this given that I don't have a great relationship with his family, and being almost in our 30s and his parents in his 60s, we would likely be living with them for the majority of my adult life and as newlyweds. What really hurt me about this whole interaction is that it made me feel replaceable. Like the life we were building together was disposable to him if I didn't agree to this. There was no conversation about what I was comfortable with, it was a demand, and if I don't like it then leave. Now we're in a huge fight where he's telling me I'm not a true partner and that if we're married his parents would be my family too. I need some advice about what to do here. I don't want to live with his parents for the majority of my life. There's major milestones like buying a new house, having kids, etc. that it's nice to have family there, but not every second of the day. I love him and I thought I would spend the rest of my life with him, but now I even question how he feels about me. Am I handling this incorrectly, and is his ask something I should be concerned about? Stories number 27. I went from wanting to marry to wanting to break it off with my boyfriend in a relatively short period. Looking for advice. I, 35F, have been with my BF, 40M, for 6 years. I thought he was the love of my life. Recently I've been thinking more about getting married. I've always thought we were compatible in our values and temperaments. I love his family. I thought we had a lot of trust and respect between us, for sure more than anyone else I ever dated. I also started liking the idea of bringing out families together for a big wedding, and I'm at the age that I can actually afford it. Recently, we were watching some reality wedding show on TV, and I asked him if he would want something similar, can't remember exactly what it was, at our wedding. I thought I was being flirty and cute, but he became visibly upset at the mention of marriage. As if I was pressuring him into something he doesn't want to do. It kind of broke my heart. We've had some conversations since, and all I really get is, I'm not sure about marriage in general. I also asked some pointed questions like, who do you want to make decisions for you if you are physiologically unable? Answer, his mom. Do you want me to have anything of yours if you die before me? Answer, not really, sounds morbid, but I have a house I rent out that I want to leave him if I go before him, as well as a sizable retirement. I even reached out to make a legal will for this. I think about how I can offer him better medical benefits. I already help him file his taxes. The truth is he just does not feel the same way about these things. He did say, marriage isn't out of the question, but my God, we are 40 and 35. He's always moved really slow with me. I said, I love you first, and he freaked out then too. We broke up after 3 years together because he left me alone on Christmas, and I was worried the feelings just weren't mutual, or he just couldn't love me in the way I needed. He begged for me back and asked me to move in with him, and I ended up choosing him. While I've been very happy for the last few years with how he treats me, I'm just confused right now. This has brought up all sorts of past insecurities. I wonder if I've given up too much of myself to be in this relationship. I've moved to his city and found work here. I live in his apartment and rent out my house. I'm resentful of how he always seems to make me look pitiful. Any advancement in our relationship seems like it comes from me forcing him, breaking up with him. That was never the goal. The thought of him proposing now just makes me sick, because I know it wouldn't come from his own desires. I'm craving space and have been looking for apartments. I love him, but it's tough feeling rejected, and I wonder if I would enjoy single life more. I wonder who I am away from him. Does this seem dramatic? Anyone else experience such a rapid shift in perspective? I should mention neither of us wanted kids, and that's probably why this conversation didn't come up earlier or seem like a bigger red flag. Also, for all the red pill guys, despite being 5 years younger, I make more and have a significantly higher net worth. I don't think he's worried about me taking his assets. Stories number 28. AITA for getting mad at my mom for calling my nephew the one who made her a grandma when my late daughter was the first grandchild. I, 23F, got pregnant when I was only 16. My boyfriend, 23M, and I were scared, but we did quickly tell our families. At first our parents were pretty pissed. But they did come around. Mine grew a lot. Going from people who refuse to let sex be discussed or safe sex be taught to the minors in their home to understanding the flaws in that. When our daughter was born, everyone was so happy, and my boyfriend and I moved in together so we could raise her together. We were happy and our families were so close to our daughter. But we lost her when she was 2. It's a pain that never goes away, and I'll be honest, I still struggle with her death. I've gone to grief therapy and I have improved a lot. But I don't know that I'll ever be the same again or that I'll ever get over it, or the many things people say. My boyfriend and I made it through and we're stronger as a couple than ever. We also stayed close to our families. This is where my mom's comments hurt. I'm the youngest in my family. And in the years since my daughter died, both my siblings have become parents. My sister has 2 kids currently and my brother has 1. My sister's son was the first of the 3 living grandchildren, and after my brother's son was born, my sister's son started being referred to as the oldest grandchild. It hurt to hear, and I spoke up at the time and asked if maybe they could label him something else because he wasn't the first grandchild. My dad felt so bad that it happened, and so did my siblings, and mom said she did too. But sometimes there are still comments that leave out my daughter as a part of the family, and I know she's dead and I understand not telling every single random person. But even during family parties or gatherings she gets left out. I have spoken up about it more than once. My mom wrote a post for my oldest nephew's birthday calling him the one who made her a grandma, and it fucking crushed me. When I saw my mom I was mad and I asked why she would post those words. I asked how she could act like my daughter never existed. My mom told me to calm down and I was overreacting and that people knew about my daughter and would realize she misspoke. I pointed out how she misspeaks a lot. My dad asked what happened and I showed him the post. He told me it wouldn't happen again. I told him it keeps happening. Not just the post, but it's like everyone wants to forget she existed and was a part of our family. I said mom posting about my nephew making her a grandma for everyone to see tells me she doesn't care. He told me he hadn't seen it, he was sorry and he'd be talking to mom and they'd all do better. My siblings said they never saw the post or they'd say something. And they have been good about correcting comments made and actually acknowledging my daughter. But my mom is mad at me for being mad at her. She said I'm not being understanding of her grief and not letting her speak in a way that works for her. That I kicked up a fuss over a silly social media post. Stories number 29. Whipta if I tell my niece the truth about why she can't go on vacation with me. Editing to add, I appreciate everyone's responses, opinions, and perspectives. I hope to have an update soon. Hey Reddit, really need some advice here. I hardly ever post, but names, ages, and sex are always a little different so no one can identify me. Apologies for the formatting, and don't steal my post or share to other platforms. Every 2 to 3 years since 2016, 39F, have taken my sister, 42, and her kids, 14F, 17F, 22M, on vacation to Universal Studios Florida. My nephew is on the spectrum and has a number of different issues including ADHD, which he's on meds for. This is relevant later. Around the time that we started going on these family vacations, which I've paid for, my sister graduated with her BA in social work. Since graduating, her personality started to change and people, friends and fam, started noticing, but no one ever said anything. It was just weird. Over the last 2 years or so, she's made new friends around her age that she's grown very close to. During this same time, her behavior has gotten progressively worse, to the point where she thinks she's always right and won't listen to reason or logic. She also says that her new friends are more her family over her own siblings and mother. My sister is my father's golden child, so he can do no wrong in her eyes. I don't think her friends like me very much, but I couldn't care less about them. It's important to note here, per the timeline, that my nephew wanted to decrease his medication doses, and was able to do so with his doctor's approval. He tried to throw them away, but I had suggested that he walk them down to the local pharmacy and dispose of them in their medication disposal bin. He asked me to do it, and without thinking, I agreed. I seriously thought nothing of it and didn't realize it would come back to bite me. Back to my sister. Things got really bad between us in March. She said she needed to talk to me, but wouldn't say about what, and I had no idea. She came to my house and accused me of stealing my nephew's meds. I laughed and told her she was crazy. Her logic was that I lost too much weight, I was almost 300 pounds, and I lost 90 pounds over the last 2 years with diet and exercise. Literally kept a food diary and recorded my workouts. I tried to reason with her and explain that the weight loss was happening over a period of time, way before my nephew started to decrease his dosages. But she wasn't having any of it and said she's not a thing read. She then started making demands, demanded that I hand the medication over, and open a little tiny money safe that I have. She also started name-calling, and proceeded to go through my personal belongings. She then asked me where my other safe was, and this confused me because I don't own another safe. I told her to leave or I was calling the cops, which I did a minute later. Cops told her to leave and I was left in disbelief. She is now trying to turn her kids against me. Her 17 years old did believe the lies being spread, but claimed she came to her senses and her mom was wrong to do what she did. She will be 18 by the time we go in December, but I suspect my younger niece will not be allowed to go. My sister was very adamant that she doesn't want anyone, including the 14-year-old, to know what happened. I tried to text my sister to ask, but she said she needs to talk to me. I refuse to speak to anyone who believes I took my nephew's meds. I think I touched on the relevant points, but I'm happy to provide more info if necessary. Wibta, if I was honest with my niece when she asks why she can't go to Universal. Stories number 30. Want to pass me? Fine, I'll let you pass. I live in Germany and was driving on the Autobahn in a section that had no speed limit, but was only 2 lanes. A semi-truck was passing another semi-truck on an uphill, so it was taking a while. I drove patiently behind the semi-truck in the left lane, waiting for him to finish passing so I could speed up again. Suddenly some dude in an Audi flies up behind me, getting so close I can't even see his headlights. He rides my ass for a few seconds until I happen to clean my rear windshield, spraying his car with windshield wiper fluid. This prompts him to back off to a safer following distance, but he is flashing his brights and has his left turn signal on, both universal signs that someone is in the left lane who shouldn't be. Now sometimes someone will do this not realizing you're stuck behind someone else. But I was behind a semi-truck. He could clearly see that I was stuck behind the truck. What did he want me to do? Go through the truck? But hey, I'll do as he asks. I drop back and get in the right lane, letting him take my spot behind the semi. I then promptly get behind him, turn on my turn signal, and start flashing my brights non-stop. I can see him getting angrier and angrier, but there's nothing he can do. Finally, the truck finishes passing and gets back in the right lane and the Audi absolutely takes off. Unfortunately for him, we had entered a 120 km/h zone and I saw the telltale flash of a speed camera. He slowed down, and then ended up exiting at the next rest stop, presumably to cool down. I'd like to think he learned his lesson and won't drive like that in the future, but I doubt it.